All right. Just go ahead.
Are we ready when we're ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This is Jesse.
And if you can't tell already, we're doing something a little different this time. But before I get into the wet, wild, and woolly of it, don't forget if you ever want to reach out to us, you can find us at ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com, on YouTube at It Tastes Like Burning Cast, and Twitter and Patreon and a whole bunch of other places. Jesse, what do we have going on today?
Well, we're in Baton Rouge at the Louisiana State Firemen's Association conference, and we're gonna be here for the next couple days. And the goal of this journey is to just basically interact with folks, make some friends, and hopefully we find a few people that are willing to sit down and kind of go on record and tell some stories and just share kind of what Louisiana's doing, right?
Right. Just get out there and just talk to volunteer departments and let them know that they have friends.
Yeah. We've had a lot of good conversations uh leading into today when we actually are down. We're in the vendor show, so if you hear lots of voices and chatter in the background, that's what that's about. Uh we're gonna we're gonna record these individual conversations and piece it together and put it out as a audio only episode. But with that, it should be interesting. We don't know any of these people that are going to be on here
Or what they're gonna say.
or what we're going to
All I
talk
can
about.
tell you is that our audio engineer Jesse, this is gonna be his piece of la resistance. So
Yeah, you use the French in
yeah,
the French part of the country over here,
yeah.
so that I see what you did there.
Maybe it's not genetic; it's just contagious.
It may be, yeah, but you know we're super thrilled to be here. It was kind of a last minute thing for us to even come here, but just can't pass up the opportunity to interact with good folks, and there's really no better folks than the Louisiana bunch of guys. I mean that we heard stories last night of guys just going above and beyond uh for their neighbors and
Community.
communities and state. And you know this part of the world gets some pretty nasty weather, uh kind of like hurricanes
Regularly.
regularly. So they're no stranger to disaster. But you know, we had Matt. We sat down with Matt from Delta, not this Matt from Delta, but a different Matt. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce Matt's last name because it's very French and
I'm almost positive it's Matt Lamicus.
something like that.
I think that's it. And
But he
he can
doesn't say it like that. He
no
does
he
it with a very French
yeah,
accent. Yeah,
he throws it in there.
yeah. But he's allowed us over here with the Delta Fire and Safety crew, and we're glad that they're willing to kind of host us in here, and just thrilled to be part of the community over here, and see the guys at Delta as truly friends of the podcast, and we want them to succeed just like we want to succeed. So
Well, as much as they're a business, I'm a business. We're all a business to a certain extent.
yeah,
Uh, you can still be a business and be community centered and support your customers
yeah,
in many, many different ways. And I hope to get Matt on here and have him just kind of talk about his story. Uh,
because it's a good story.
yeah, no, it's what needs to be heard because this is a really common story.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe not like the whole thing, but this is common in the volunteer fire service and the communities that support them and the companies that support them. It's not just a business relationship. These
that is
are our friends, they're our family, they're beyond coworkers, and it's becomes more than a professional relationship that you build with your starting out customers and clients.
yep. So kudos to those guys. They're real good guys. I mean, they're the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned for everything they've done for us. And definitely this is their plug, and this is their the payback for the having a little faith in us to do what we do. So next time you kind of hear from us, it'll be nothing to y'all. You won't know the difference, but we're gonna find some folks to sit down and talk to, and we'll have that be the next part.
Yeah, we'll segue into our next speaker. So grab your butts and hold tight.
There you go.
I'm talking about me and Jesse met several years ago. He showed me a ukulele that he had built, and just to be an ass, I built a violin, woodworking. So it's the learning part's not the problem, but at the end of the day, it's paperwork. What paperwork do you have? And that's today's society. It's not like it was, even 50 years
I
ago,
guess you're right.
where
That's
a
true.
janitor could start at Lockheed Martin and ultimately become a lead engineer. And I do know a story like that. Guy on our department, he's passed, but his dad did that.
Wow.
He literally, they moved in the early 40s to California for the war to work at Palmdale. And he started there at Palmdale as a janitor. Okay. They were paying for college, so his dad started to take college classes. He got transferred from Palmdale to Fort Worth. He went to Fort Worth and just picked right back up where he was at, started taking college classes again. And by the time the man left Lockheed, he was a lead engineer.
Okay, I can understand. I can understand the environment creating that to happen. Sure.
I mean, obviously the man, I never met him,
Okay.
obviously, but there's no way he was a dummy.
Gotcha. Right. Right.
Just because he's a janitor sure as heck doesn't mean that he
No.
wasn't obviously, quite frankly, highly intelligent.
Oh no. Oh no. I've ran across some people who are cleaning crew people, and whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, introduce yourself right quick.
Okay. Hi, I'm Michael Cook, longtime fireman, longtime musician. Yeah.
Cool. And where are you from?
I'm currently in my dream and retirement home, puts me in Anacoco, Louisiana.
Awesome. And you're here at the
Conference this year, actually doing music and catching up to old friends. My buddy who plays on guitar and I play keyboards. Well, we play music, sing and all that for the firefighter memorial services. And this year was the first time they had music at the conference. So here I am.
There you go. That's awesome.
So we're going to bounce all over the place with you, okay?
Okay.
So let's work backwards.
Let's work back.
Let's work backwards. At the very end of your professional career, when you retired, what was kind of some of your different titles?
Oh my gosh. Well, Mike Cook has always been, I guess, probably 5 characters. If you look at it, I'm always going to be a Vietnam War vet, always going to be a firefighter, always going to be a musician, always going to be an author. I started writing for fire magazines and other magazines since 1974, been published all the time. And then I got back into acting. Oh, yeah. So I do a little acting when my look and character needs that type of character. Here I am.
So when you retired, where'd you retire from?
I retired from Fort Polk with the Army here in Louisiana. And it's funny because I kind of went full circle. In 1969, I came to Fort Polk as a young soldier who went on to really get jump-started with his career in the fire service. Went to Vietnam, unfortunately came back.
Awesome. Now, at Fort Polk, we know you were a fire chief. What else did you have to do in your role just there at Polk?
At Polk, I had a lot to do, outside just managing the fire department. I interfaced a lot with our police agencies, our EMS agencies, and really everybody on the fort. Couple of reasons why. When I came there, to do the firefighting duties, they also knew I was a musician, so sure, I would play the organ and the piano for the chaplains at different services and memorial services. They found out I was a professional entertainer, so I got to play a lot of socials and events, special events for the command staff. And so I entertained just like I entertained at the nightclubs and the honky tonks and the festivals. And from there, what else? I guess whatever we needed to make happen. But at that time, the military, the Army, I should say, went to a concept called the Directorate of Emergency Services. And so they brought in everybody that was in a position like fire and police. We came together, dispatching. We all came together under one roof and one command. And so that was a whole new concept, and it was great for us, actually, because I got to go to very regular, almost daily meetings with my counterparts that also wore a badge and a uniform. And we were able to share critical information. We were able to understand each other's roles in a much better way. We conducted drills and other mass casualty type exercises together. We got to know each other on a good, firm basis, rather than all of a sudden you're at a heck of an emergency situation and you don't know who your other players are. Man, I mean, but it was smooth. I mean, let me tell you, it took some work, but boy, it's a great concept.
Well, yeah, no, that definitely took work. That is a hard hurdle to get over right there. Just that cooperation, interagency cooperation
It's
Yeah.
tough.
And to get rid of the territorialness of it and just the general, kids in a sandbox and they're grabbing their plastic shovels and slinging fresh cat turds at each other. So,
yeah. Well, I think the best thing about it is we understood each other's strengths. We also understood each other's weaknesses. And a lot of times we could shore up that defense.
right.
Yeah.
Now, I do know, I've never mentioned before today, but in the little bit we've talked, I have a sneaky feeling that this is an understatement when I say this. Music's important to you. Why?
Oh my gosh, music is important to me. Music is the food of life. It is. I'm telling you what, you have music. I think that's the reason I've been able to, since a young kid, I've been able to, I guess you open up both sides of your brain when you have music. And so I could memorize things and understand things. And yeah, I could breeze through anything. Yeah.
Is there a particular type of music that you like or instrument that you prefer? Or are you broad spectrum?
Oh gosh, I love every type of music. If you were to come and see my wardrobe, I got everything from a 3-piece suit to my fire department uniforms, heavy metal clothes, swamp pop clothes, country western clothes. Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay. Now, swamp pop. This is
Swamp pop.
you got to remember we're talking to people that aren't in Louisiana. So, what is swamp pop?
Swamp pop is our Cajun interpretation of classic music, and we make it our own. We'll take good classic rock and roll. We'll take good country. We'll take good rhythm and blues, and we kind of make it with a Cajun flavor. Yeah, we get out the Tabasco, and yeah, we'll spice it up, and we do it with a variety of instruments. We have the basic drums and bass guitar and guitar in the band, but we'll bring in brass instruments. We'll bring in Hammond organ. We'll bring in piano. Oh yeah, and it's just fun.
So, one thing that me and Jesse have noticed since we've been here, and this will take me a minute to kind of explain. I've been to a lot of trade shows in Texas. Okay, and Texans are Texans, and they're known for their own identity. And the same for the South.
Correct.
Okay. But what I've noticed here in Louisiana, and we're gonna probably have a whole podcast dedicated to just this. I'm gonna call it the social interaction of people, okay, or culture. It is so different seeing the interaction between the vendors here and the customers, the showgoers,
Gotcha.
versus in Texas. And it's in Texas. It's still friendly, it's professional, it's cordial, there's joking, laughing, storytelling,
Right.
but it's, for a lack of better words, it's distanced.
Okay.
Whereas here, it's personable, I'm going to use a terrible word in the fire service, it's intimate.
Okay.
It is very, very family, friend, centric, and focused. And the culture difference is truly huge to someone that's not from the area, but sees these shows quite a bit.
I understand.
Yeah, no, that's where I was gonna go. It's almost like they're family with each other. They're over here, immediately giving each other a hard time or ribbing
yeah.
each other
Oh, yeah.
or hugging, and
That's right.
it's pretty amazing. So
It is, and I think that's a reason why I even though I went to other bases with my career, for the military, man, Louisiana, man, I had it when the Pentagon called me and says, "We need you back at Fort Polk with this, and this." I says, "Okay, I'll take the challenge. Let's go." I couldn't wait to get back.
I I think one thing that I've noticed is a common undertone discussion in the background that I'm hearing with everyone here. And I don't know why I caught on to it, and it may be because we're just talking to you.
Okay.
But the common theme here is a lot of people's conversations revolve here local, not about the bar, but about where they're going to listen to something.
Okay.
That's again very different from where I'm from,
All right.
because where I'm from, yeah, they're still being social. They're going to meet their friends, their coworkers, even their competition.
Right.
They're going to go out for barbecue,
Right.
or they're going to go to the local watering hole.
Right.
But I've heard it multiple times here, and it's not a Louisiana and interacting with the Texan that I'm hearing it. It's Louisianans to each other talking about where they're going to go to actually listen to something. And I've heard that conversation probably 6 or 8 times since I've been here.
Okay.
And this isn't a huge show.
Not
And
really.
I've
No.
never heard that statement once in Texas. And we've been to some big shows in Texas. Not once have I heard that. And it's a crazy half-cocked idea, but it's culture.
I guess
100%.
yeah, it's part of our culture, and I don't know if there's an explanation for it. No, I don't know.
It was like trying to explain Southern hospitality.
There you go.
So it's the same concept.
It
What
is.
is exactly Southern hospitality? It's 14,000 different things, and it's the people.
It is.
It's the people. Whereas, and it's not that Texas doesn't have hospitality. I'd argue that state does it pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's a different people. It's a different culture.
You know, if I can say this, maybe because I serve as a chaplain, I guess maybe the roots here are strong. You know, a lot of different faiths throughout the state, depending where you're at, and everybody believes, or we know that life is short. You know, so the brevity of just that concept at the back of your mind, we want to share good times with each other because we don't know when we're going to say goodbye to one another until the joyous reunion in the end.
Now, I'm going to shift gears pretty hard here.
Okay.
When you started off in the fire service, you said did you start by being drafted into Vietnam, or did you join before, or what was going on?
Okay. Obviously, I had great influences by my grandfathers who are firemen, but I became drafted, and here's the reason why. Even with the 6-year enlistment, Marine Corps, Navy, they couldn't guarantee you be on crash fire rescue, damage control, and that. My dad, rest in peace, was a highly decorated World War II Marine, fought the Japanese, double Purple Hearts. Okay. Anyway, when the Army recruiter told my dad, he says, Lou, just let the boy go and get himself become drafted. And once he gets in, volunteer for everything, become combat trained. He says, become advanced combat trained. He says, become the best you can in all of those skills. Be a warrior. He says, he'll make his way and become a firefighter. And that's what it took back then. You had to be, after you finished basic, you had to go through advanced infantry, and you better be, I hate to use the word killer, but you better be a darn good killer, know how to use everything. And if you make the top 10% and you want to be a combat firefighter, you got it. That's what I did.
So, what is a combat firefighter? I pride myself in military history, and I've actually never heard that term.
It doesn't exist anymore, and I can understand why, Matt. The combat firefighter position went away in '83. They basically, if you're on a base today as a military firefighter, you protect that base. You don't leave the base. With us, it was different. We were firefighters and firemen. In other words, let me tell you, we did firefighting and rescue, but we were also the napalm boys. We did burning missions and things like that. And if aircraft fell out of the sky 20, 30 miles from us, got shot down, whatever, medevac, whatever, we would battle dress. The MPs would give us a gun jeep with 50 cal to lead us in. So my 5-man engine company, my 2-man water tender came behind. And maybe if the MPs could spare us, they'd give us an extra gun jeep. We'd go to the crash site. Sometimes we could do some good. Sometimes we couldn't. Sometimes we're there and we're firefighting our way out of it.
And you're battling your way to that proverbial downed airplane or whoever called for help.
That is correct.
How long did you do that?
I stayed in Nam a couple of tours, a couple of months shy. They had the early out program, so I got out and came home a little early from 3 years.
Okay. So what year did you go in?
69, came home in 71.
Okay. Well, gosh, there's a whole podcast on that.
Yeah,
So you come home,
right.
okay? You're still in the Army.
That's right.
Where do you go from there?
I got to muster out because Nixon had just become president.
Okay.
And so they were talking to me at the in San Francisco when I came home. There was we had left Vietnam, went to Japan to Tokyo, then Tokyo over to San Francisco. Okay, so I'm home, a young soldier. They really wanted me to stay in, but the Army Fire Department had little rank. I was a corporal in charge of 20 guys in a war zone. That's how crazy it was.
Right.
I mean, there was no rank to be made as an Army firefighter. It was just one of those jobs that somebody needed to do. And we were totally forgotten about until something came up and they needed the firemen. All of a sudden, even our own soldiers said, "Holy crap, we didn't know you have firefighters. Oh my God, Army firefighters." Okay, so I got home. They wanted me, they looked at my records as Cook. He says, "You did good. We like firemen." He says, "You guys pretty brave. You do a lot of interesting work and good work." Look, I said, "I can make you an E5 today, and in 6 months you'll be an E6. And I thought, boy, this guy's got my attention because I liked the Army and I liked where I was going with my firefighting career. And so he says, "Yeah," he says, "we want you to go into EOD. I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, yeah, explosive ordnance disposal. You'll be perfect for the job in that." I thought, you know what? I didn't want to spend my next 20 years just handling bombs and stuff like that. I'm sure it'd be interesting work and challenging, but I thought, no, my passion, I got to be on them red trucks.
That's pretty good.
So from that point, how'd you end up back in the military and then ultimately as the fire chief?
Okay. Let me tell you where I'm at. Okay, my dad, like I said, highly decorated, shot up really bad. The Navy took care of the Marines, of course. So they had 3 main hospitals for rehabilitation and all that. One was in Long Beach, one was in Great Lakes, north of Chicago, and then the other one was, I think, Norfolk. Okay, so Dad was in recovering in that and getting well up at Great Lakes. So one of the nurses in the ward there was going to get married. And so a lot of the sailors and Marines, they didn't want to make sure they had plenty of males at the wedding party and the dance for the one nurse who was getting married. So my dad went, it was well enough to go to the dance. He met my mom, then 10 months later I show up. So basically everybody stayed up there. So I'm in the Midwest. Mom was from Iowa. So I was raised there in the Catholic school system. And so, so I was born a Yankee, okay, Marine brat. And so here starts my interesting journey. Dad regretted not taking the fire department test when he got out of the Marines. Both grandfathers were firemen from Europe. They migrated from Romania, and they became firemen here. One was a railroad fireman because the railroads had their own private fire brigade. Right. The other one became an industrial fire chief, and so the influences was strong on me. So after I got home from Nam, to go back to the story that you wanted me to tell you about, I had already taken my civil service exam, so I had an appointment for the Clinton, Iowa Fire Department. So I was on there for about not quite 4 years. During that time, I became the mutual aid president, and we had 2 chemical plants built out in the cornfields of Iowa. We didn't know anything about industrial firefight, and I was told Texas A&M had a bang-up school for 1 week in August, the hottest time of the year to go. So I signed up for the school, and I went to Texas A&M. It was $15 for the course, and it was $25 to stay in the ROTC barracks there. So I did that. And while I was there, I wore my uniform, and they thought it was very unusual for a city firefighter to be going to an industrial fireman school. I met some great people who had these chemical plants in Louisiana. One of them was the director of safety and loss prevention at Olin Chemicals at Lake Charles. And unfortunately, Olin doesn't exist there anymore. But he says, Cook, he says, I like you. It's been watching you, he says, do these classes and that. He says, you seem to have a lot in the ball. And I told him about my time in Vietnam. He says, wow. And he says, okay, my fire department is composed of janitors and mail boys, basically people we really can't do anything else about with the plan. He said, but the union makes us keep them and hire them. He says, I'm going to have a vacancy. He says, my lead fireman's going to be gone in the end of the year. He says, expect to get a call from me. I'm going to make you an offer. And, so anyway, so we parted ways. Thought that was nice of him to say that. And I really forgot about it. Then next thing I know, in the middle of December, I got a call at the fire station where I'm on duty. And the captain there, he says, Mike, he said, get the phone here. He says, you got somebody from Louisiana calling you. Well, there was a plane ticket waiting for me to come down. So I came to Lake Charles, got the 5 and dime tour. I had a heck of an offer. I was making $800 a month as a first-class fireman EMT, and they asked me, could I come down here for $1,800 a month? I said, yeah, I'm on my way. So that's how I got hooked up here in Louisiana. And then I started teaching classes for LSU with the fire science program, and Fort Polk was one of my teaching stations. So I got re-involved there. And then parish firemen didn't make a whole lot of money back then. I went to 4 years at a chemical plant in Lake Charles, and then 2 more years at PPG there in Lake Charles. Same time, I'm the volunteer fire chief, starting the Ward 1 Fire Protection District to protect Moss Bluff and Gillis in Louisiana. And so here I am, dual-headed, double-chiefed, and one thing led to another, and there was really no money when I left the chemical plants and became a parish fire chief. And I looked at federal civil service. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go into the federal civil service. I'm not going to go back in the hardcore military because, again, there was no rank to be made, but the federal guys made good money. And so I became my next stop after Louisiana was Savannah Army Depot, Illinois, the oldest operating depot in the country. It closed in 2000. It was where General Doolittle's bombs were developed, the lightweight fire bombs. It was where the laboratory and all the scientists and munitions experts perfected the removing the red phosphorus and became white phosphorus. The weight from like 100-pound bomb dropped down to a 30-pound bomb. So, that was critical for Doolittle's raids. So that's the big history there at that place. So I was there, their last fire chief. And then they brought me to Leavenworth, and this was all 9/11 time. And they used my writing skills. I did a lot of doctrine for the fire service, in particular in hazmat. And even though my name was not out there in the real world, I've got a lot of publications internally with the military. And then, and then the Pentagon calls and says, Fort Polk, we need you back at Fort Polk. We know you're the one who can remodernize, rejuvenate, bring the department. He said the department's broken manpower, equipment, stations, everything. They were right. So they gave me 3 pay grade raises and moved me, paid my expenses, and I'm back to Louisiana and had a good time. I knew everybody from all my work here previously. My music scene just came alive. Yeah, I'm a lucky guy.
Now, you've also managed to have some volunteer background too.
A big time volunteer.
So let's give a crash course on that too.
Oh my God. Well, I moved in this community, and they had called Moss Bluff. Shortly, they had just built a new 171 highway bridge. So, man, it was getting to be boomtown. People wanted to come there. It was going to become the country club of Lake Charles, I guess, community you'd call it. And, they sort of had a little volunteer fire department, but they had no tax base. The fire trucks would just hand me down stuff. They're old fuel trucks. They had like a 60-gallon-a-minute delivery pump on them. That was their fire department. And the one truck couldn't pump, and the other truck had no brakes. So, oh my God. So I thought, here I am. Fire rating is class 10, the worst you can get. I thought, I got to do something to help these people. I'm going to live here and that, be part of this community. So, so it just happened. So let's go that way. And so it's just started building the fire department. I had a wonderful police juror woman. She was the first woman elected in the state of Louisiana, believed in me. I'd started all this. Oh, by the way, I am the first fire chief in Louisiana to have women on the fire department in 1976. I got the record. Hey, yeah.
There you go.
How long were you with this volunteer department?
Approximately 10 years because
Okay.
and then I looked at the pay and everything we were looking at and the pension and that, and it just wasn't good. And then I'm teaching at Fort Polk. I found out, wow, the federal civil service, man, this is going to be good. I need to make a move. So I made a move.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, then that's kind of an important thing, realizing when you need to make the move. And I argue all the time that, especially in a volunteer department, about 10 years is about a good tenure for a chief, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you're running out of just gumption and the will to move forward at that point sometimes in a department. And I think a lot of chiefs overstay their value to the department or to the organization.
Yeah, that's possible. I fortunately kept all of my pen pals from Europe. You know, I had a terrific collection, and one thing I learned in my life as a young fire chief was that us American firefighters don't know everything. Oh my God! When I started studying Europe, and then we were starting. I still do a little fire buffing, a lot of collecting sometimes, and we would swap models. You know, I'd send them models, nice quality models of our fire trucks, and they'd send me their stuff. And I'm looking at the way they do their business, and I thought, oh my God, this is so innovative. We got to start doing this stuff. I love the Japanese with their lightweight, coiled, flexible suction hose.
Mhm.
So I ordered a 30-foot section of 3-inch suction hose, and it was perfect. We go to fires, you know, and we had like few hydrants in Moss Bluff at that time. So, but we had water and drainage ditches. We'd have water in swimming pools. Guess what? We'd roll out. We didn't worry about that big, heavy 5 and 6-inch sleeve, hard sleeves that we'd do. I said, man, we just run out that 30-foot seamless roll of suction hose, and man, that was a European thing, so we could get water quickly and fast.
Yeah, what you're talking about is something that I joke when I make this statement. It makes me a pariah because American firefighting tactics and just everything's 50 years behind any other developed country. It's just there's certain things we do so well, and then the fire science part, we're like, no, leather buckets now. And it's like, guys, there is other stuff out there that's being proven. It works really well. It's okay. Like, can we look at it? No. And that's one thing I do wish that we'd have more of is, and it's not that international community of firefighting doesn't exist. It's prevalent. Why on earth we don't adopt tactics that are, I mean, steadfast, rock solid work. Now, I do understand, and we can have that conversation about the considerate difference in building construction between Europe,
Right.
which is, literally has structures that are well over 1,500 years old.
Easy.
Okay. Whereas the U.S., I mean, a very, very, very old place here is 200 years old.
That's correct.
So I get this. I get that discussion, but doesn't mean that Europe hasn't also had to build some other buildings in the last 1,500 years. And same everywhere. It's everywhere. But like I said, the Americans, we really adhere to our tradition on firefighting and our standard of firefighting really hard. And it's hard to be particularly volunteer and be able to be the one to change tactics or strategies because of your automatic and mutual aid. You almost render them useless, and I don't mean it in a negative way.
Right.
You're self-inflicting the gunshot wound
Oh yeah.
when you do an aggressive tactical change, because your automatic and mutual aid, one, maybe not geared for it, two, there's a really good chance they're not going to be trained for it, and three, you can't take that tactic into that other territory district because their command structure is not going to be ready for it.
That's correct.
So it's one of those things that's just, we're like a Looney Tune character where our feet are just spinning, but we're still in the same muddy spot. And the progress on American firefighting, particularly on what's available with just different fire tactics and the way to approach it, Again, I don't want to say it's old or archaic. That's not the right word. It works. That's why we do it. There's just other ways to look at that, and trying to get that thought process encouraged, much less discussed, is pretty sporty sometimes.
It is. It is. Well, one thing I noticed when I started traveling, going to Europe, like the Austrians and the Germans, their engines are all standardized. In other words, if you need a certain tool, you can go to anybody's engine, and that tool is going to be right there in that place. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And the other thing is, too, we spend a lot of dollars on chrome and all sorts of bells and whistles. We got beautiful fire trucks here.
Right.
There's over there, they're just red and black or red and white.
Right.
No big deal. Everything's painted. There's no fancy bells. There's no federal cues, things like that.
I think kind of the antithesis of what I'm talking about is the American firefighting helmet. And this is straight heresy now.
Passionate.
And the fact of the matter is the European helmet, and I'll clarify this by saying you will never catch me in a European helmet, okay? Because I know what wrath I would catch from everyone around me from a 12-county radius. So make that perfectly clear. But the European helmet's superior in every facet. There's not one area where the European helmet's not superior. But the American firefighter helmet will remain in place for probably another 150 years, if not longer.
Probably forever.
My only hope is where it will change is if they ever come up with like a HUD, a heads-up display, integrated into the SCBA mask. Because when the mask is integrated into the helmet like the European helmet is, that'll change it.
That's probably about right. Yeah, no, you're right. I have my leather helmet, and I have a Gallet that we wore at Savannah Army Depot, and we love the Gallets. And then I ended up getting a modern MSA not too long ago here, and it's nice, and it works, and it's practical, and everything. Oh, wow, yeah. But you know what? I ended up going back to leather because that was the look that I had to have.
So, Chief Cook, we should talk to you for the next 3 months straight every week.
Okay. All right.
Here's always when we have guests on our show, I kind of like to ask these two final questions.
Okay.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges in general facing particularly the volunteer fire service and combination department fire service? And then the follow-up to that is, how do we address those modern challenges of recruiting, retention, culture, generational gaps, funding? So what do you generally see in your area in Louisiana as probably the biggest challenge for your volunteer and combination departments?
I think somehow maybe it's my generation or the generation just below me, for our new generation coming in. I don't think we're really getting the message right. I think we need to let the youth know that this is something that you really need to consider doing, because it will improve you as an individual. You will learn about life. You will learn other skills from other firefighters. Somebody's a good mechanic, somebody's a good carpenter, and you contribute to the success of your community. And you know what? And the other thing is, everything that you learn as a volunteer firefighter or as a combination firefighter, it's transferable. If you're working for a company and you have a chance to become a regional manager of your profession in like St. Louis and you got to move, you haven't lost all these skills in this background. And when you get up there, hopefully you'll find a department that you can interface and join and work with and continue on. I think we're failing in just what I just said.
Okay. Fantastic answer. We would agree completely,
Okay.
actually.
100%.
Now, here's the hard part.
Yeah.
We've identified the problem. What would you recommend? What are some ideas that departments can use, deploy, consider? How do you implement a whatever program to try and address the litany issues? A issue. What's the solution here? What's your recommendation for the solution?
I'm going to look at the military here. Let's look at the junior officer program that the military has in so many schools. I think we need to do, and it's being done more and more throughout Europe, where there are in your senior years of, I shouldn't say your senior years, but yeah, I'd say each country has a little bit different approach, but they're bringing the fire and emergency services into the school classroom when you get into high school, and they are creating tomorrow's emergency services cadre. We need to really do this probably in every school. I think this is where we're missing the point. I think people are those that may not know exactly what you want to do in life. Do I follow an economic course here? I take more economics. Do I want to go into English writing? I think we need to make sure that the emergency services subjects are right there with us. I think this is where we're missing the point, because I think the younger generation, they do want guidance. They may not be saying it out loud, but I think silently they're hoping that somebody will show me that this is going to be a good career. This will be rewarding for me for the rest of my life. I think this is where we're missing things. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Well, no, I think you're exactly right, because I think one of the things that people miss in today's society, and especially a lot of the young people, is purpose, right?
Well, and I'm saying this too as a musician. I mean, oh God, I'll have young musicians come up to me and say, "Chief, God, we heard some really cool stuff. You were playing on the Hammond organ. What settings were you using, and what was your fingering technique?" And I'm happy to show it to them. Man, they go away like I just gave them $100 bill.
Yeah.
no.
There's a sense of purpose that all of us get from being in the fire service and doing that I think a lot of the young people, when we see like elevated suicide rates in the youth, and that wasn't a thing when I was young. I mean, I may have heard of one kid committing suicide when I was in high school
Right.
and junior high, and
Right.
it was probably non-existent when you were in school.
I've never had anything like that. I think the fire service, the emergency services as a whole, I think it gives purpose to a person's life. I mean, because you really understand the value of life.
And I think that's a key. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's that's a point we keep hammering, particularly post-COVID, is that I think one of the big benefits coming out of COVID is a lot of people realized at how much meaningless they actually had in their life.
Oh gosh, yes.
And post-COVID, people realized at how much they actually needed a social connection.
Sure.
And they also realized that they needed a place to belong to. And volunteer fire departments are like an epicenter for giving you meaning, purpose, value, connection, friendship, fellowship, on and on and on.
Oh God, yeah.
And-
The list is huge.
Yeah, and I think it's a big recruiting point for VFDs is that people are actually physically starved for social value, meaning, and purpose. And it doesn't have to be a VFD. I mean, go to a dog shelter. You may not have the physical connection, but at least you're building a connection there. Red Cross, whatever.
Oh, I think so. I love our mass media today. We can stay on top of things. We have creative. We can use it for creative ways of just about anything. But unfortunately, you're right. Real human discourse and interfacing. Oh, it's just warmness that we don't have. We got to do this. The fire service gives you that.
Yeah, and it is. I think it's something that we should be recruiting a lot more, because people do better. People are herds animals. They're really.
We are social animals.
We like to be together.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And we need that.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm a loner. I don't like to talk." Mm-hmm. COVID shot that in the tail.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That killed that,
Mhm.
because COVID happened. First week, everyone's off work. Awesome. They're on their computer, whatever. They clean their house. Second week, they finish watching everything on TV. Third week, they finish with Netflix. Fourth week, they finish with YouTube. And then at the fifth week, they're outside.
Oh yeah.
And then the next problem happens.
Oh,
You
yes.
still can't be around anyone. And that's when it happened. That's when people realize that, oh, I have to be around people. Even if I'm not involved in the group, I need to be sitting in the classic park
or wherever around people.
Yeah.
And that's the true vast majority of the US. And I'm talking 98%.
Oh gosh, you got that right. It was a tsunami coming across the country.
So I know it's something that we recruited pretty heavily off of. It took us a while to realize the opportunity that was there.
Okay.
Because again, coming out of COVID, I don't want to say we had a culture crisis, but I just call it a moral void.
It is.
Morals may be the wrong word here.
I don't know.
Well, technically what I'm talking about is a core issue. So yes, it's a moral belongingness. And we took full advantage of it once we realized that that was an option and start recruiting heavy off of that. Here's a place. Come here. You always have a purpose. People need you. Doesn't matter who you are. People need you. We are here to help that need and just pound that war drum.
Oh yes, very much so.
Chief, I can't say thank you enough. This was fantastic.
No. Matt, Jesse, God bless you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll be it for this interview, and we will turn it over to Jesse real quick.
I was just gonna do you have any parting thoughts or anything you wanna leave with the listeners?
Oh gosh, yeah. Those of you out there that may have either considered or never considered working in the emergency services and helping your fellow man, give it a second look. I mean, you get on board. I think you're going to find, it's going to reward your life.
Yeah,
it'll be a step in the right direction.
Always. Well, thank you so much again, and appreciate the time.
And we're back. I've got Matt. That's me, of course.
Yeah, and Jesse. But
we've got Jesse over here. And we also have our program director for fire science at Bossier Parish, Louisiana, Bo Bevan.
Hey, how's it going?
Introduce yourself there real quick.
Hi, how you guys doing? I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you all today at this great conference we're at. Well, again, my name is Bo Bevan. I'm the Fire Science Program Director at Bossier Parish Community College, where we offer a 2-year associate's degree in firefighting, fire science. Happy to be here.
So is that a traditional academy, or is it beyond what a traditional academy would be?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot. So what we are is we're kind of that, professional development. We're kind of the college degree of firefighting. So a lot of times we're not necessarily the academy because you already have that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a lot of students come in and they're now pursuing their fire science degree as almost as the professional development, or kind of like when we go into our friends in law enforcement, how they'll go through the police academy and then go back and get their criminal justice degree. Very similar with fire science.
What's an example of just some of the classes they would take in that 2-year program?
Yeah, so some of the classes that they're going to take is more extensively really getting into building construction. We actually use Brannigan's book in building construction for the fire service, kind of like the Bible, as they say, for building construction, and they'll take classes in that. So you go a lot more than just, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, type 5, where we actually get into why is it type 1, why is it type 2. We get into really getting into almost the nuts and bolts to almost a technical subject matter expert when we get into fire building construction.
Now, something that we talked about yesterday is, and oddly enough, both of us agree on it, is what's the benefits of going to a college, in this case, Bossier Parish, and putting a little extra time and energy into your career and your extracurricular, particularly I'd recommend young, but anytime's good time for education.
Right.
How's this a benefit to the individual?
What we feel is that with anybody at any stage of their career, whether I've been in the fire department for 9 minutes, or I've been in the fire department maybe for 2 weeks, or I've been in the fire service 22 years, the benefit that you're going to have from this is a deeper understanding of what we're looking at. We're going to get more in depth. We really feel that the benefit for this is you're going to actually understand the how and the why of why we do everything. And, kind of quoting Ben Franklin, is the man that invests in his own self, invests in his future. So really, you're going to be a better firefighter. You're going to be a safer firefighter. You're going to be able to really have almost that expert level understanding, or that subject matter expert of what we're getting into, especially
So besides building construction, what's some other classes they're going to take?
some other classes we'll actually use as legal considerations for the fire service. So when we start kind of like a little bit of employment law, a little bit of business law, so we get a little bit understanding of how do we really look at the fire service as a business? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, is it a business? Yes. So
Yeah.
we understand a little bit of human resources. So some of those classes, especially as people are looking to get, further their careers, either the officer route or working their way up to the chief's position, having a little bit of understanding of employment law or business law really is going to help them run their businesses a little bit more efficiently.
Right. It's just something that, and I get it, 18, 19, 25-year-old.
Right.
I can get be like, look, I'm not doing a 6-week class on HR, but you'd be surprised at how much you might need that class.
Right. And especially if that 25-year-old's thinking, you know what, I think I want to maybe become a lieutenant, or
Right.
maybe I'm thinking about, progressing. As we get this a lot of times, just we hear people always say, what do I need a college degree to throw a ladder? We get that a lot. But we always say, like, you're right. You're 100% right. You don't need a college degree to throw a ladder. But if you're ever thinking about climbing that ladder, engineer, senior firefighter, engineer, lieutenant, captain, you're going to have a more in-depth understanding of what's going on in our career, because everyone's going to be looking at you for answers.
Well, I think one of the key things that you get and you take away from that is some critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And no matter who you are or what background or whatever, those critical thinking skills are so important to advancing in life, right?
Right. And even just deeper thinking, how to problem solve, how to, we get many different problems that we see in our careers in the fire service where it's like, wait, that wasn't in the manual. Where's that in the book?
Right.
And by having those critical thinking skills and that deeper thinking abilities, it's going to be able to make you survive, overcome.
I make this statement all the time, and it's tongue in cheek, but it's not, right? Your value as an employee or a firefighter or a volunteer or whatever it is in your ability to solve problems.
Right. And as firefighters, what are we?
Problem
solvers.
Correct. So however you get those skills, whether it's through 50 years of life experience,
right,
which is the long road, right? Or you go get a associates in fire science or some other higher education that puts you on a faster track to acquiring the skills to solve the problem.
Right.
And I think that's critical, right?
Right.
100%.
And even like in our fire service today, we're working with equipment, millions of dollars that are equipment. We look at the average fire apparatus now is about what, $1.2 million?
Yeah.
And we need that deeper thinking. We need that technical abilities and skills to really operate these pieces of equipment.
I think, and this is, I'm going to high horse, but I think one thing that's people forget, particularly, and I'm going to call it blue collar work, but very, very particularly in the fire service.
Right.
And this isn't just volunteer. This is everyone.
Yeah.
Communication.
100%.
Okay? And a lot of people forget that there's a difference between an email you're going to send in high school versus college.
Right.
Versus to your employer, to
The mayor
or
parish president or anybody.
DA.
Right.
Okay. And I'm finding that more and more people don't know how to actually write.
Right.
And the funny thing is that I'm a prolific reader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I couldn't spell cat if you spotted me the K and the T. All right.
Well, we can help you. Not a problem. We have tons of help, tons of support services.
But it turns out I can write. Well, where on earth did this come from? It came from college.
Right.
That's where it came from.
Right.
And I assure you, as your career progresses to young men and women out there,
mm-hmm.
you have got to learn how to write. It's critical. Multiple facets. Grants. Let's start at the beginning of your career. Typically, you have to be able to fill out an application.
Right.
Okay. From there, now I get it. The panel interviews, they're not asking you for a thesis, even though I would argue that probably ought to be something. That'd be a fantastic, like, just destroy someone interview question. It's just been.
No, we don't want to do that. But
I need an 8-sentence paragraph on why you want to be here.
what is your personal mission statement?
something like that.
Yeah.
That would be cruel and evil, and you'd never be able to hire anyone today.
Correct.
If you went to that, unless they were over the age of about 40.
Right.
And oddly enough, it wouldn't matter. About 40 years old, all of a sudden, a truck driver knows how to write, plumber, electrician, a lawyer.
Right.
Oddly enough, they've all realized this thing, it's actually important.
Right.
And that's a big benefit to what your mission is here.
Right.
And we'll bounce into that. What's something that you see that's needed for the fire service?
Personally, I feel that the higher education component in the fire service is critical.
Now, what part of that exactly?
When we start getting into, especially when we for the higher education portion of how to interpersonal communications, public speaking, interacting, community risk reduction, just really how to communicate your mission statement to not only to your employees but also to your community as well.
Sure.
So what I really feel is that the mission of what we even do here in fire science is that we're preparing the next generation of officers to lead.
Right.
And that's ultimately our goal is so, and we get to say, so, Bo, why in my program, I'm a firefighter. Why do I have to take public speaking? Because when we know how to communicate effectively, we're ultimately protecting lives. We're also, especially when we get into public fire, life safety education, and we take that whole hazard, that multifaceted approach to life safety. You know, we understand it's not all about pulling hose and slaying the dragon, but we also have a lot of that engineering, education, and enforcement actions we do as firefighters to better prevent. We firmly believe in our program is that by adding the prevention aspect can save millions of lives. As that old proverb goes is, a pound of sugar is worth 10 pounds of cure.
Yeah. So I've got kind of a wonky question for you.
Sure.
Let's say that you're young man or woman, let's say mid-20s, let's say 4 or 5 years into your career.
Right.
Okay. But you're busy with work. You are very busy with your family stuff.
Right.
You're busy with church. You're busy with your kids' sports stuff and on and on. Does higher education include necessarily having to get a degree or finding time and making time to take just classes to improve yourself?
We believe both. And we believe that anybody who's pursuing any form of education to improve themselves is awesome. Whether it's reading a magazine, taking a college class, taking a state fire academy, anything that you can do to better yourself from, as we always say, like where in my department or where I also work too, is what are you doing today to prepare yourself for that next call? Whether that's, reading a magazine on, fire behavior combustion, taking a college class, and even with as many we're busy people. We know that between all the stuff we got going on, a lot of programs now are online. So you can kind of make your own schedule when you're going through it. So it is a lot easier than we could say 10, 15 years ago
now,
to get in.
Your particular program,
Yeah.
is it structured like a classic college class where you have to take a semester and take 15 credit hours, or how can they set that up?
Yeah, so if anyone's interested in Bossier Parish Community College's fire science program, of course, you can always give us a call here at the college and we'll show you how to do it. But with our program we are 100% online, and we are structured very kind of traditionally as a college, as a typical college, but, semester type system. But our classes are only 8 weeks. And what we kind of have, you got due dates, there is structure, but there's a lot of flexibility. So we'll give you, you got a week to get all your assignments done. So in that week, if you can find time, whenever you want to work within that structure, you get your assignments done throughout the week.
Okay. And do they have to take X amount of credit hours a semester?
No. It depends on how, of course, give us a call. There's different rules if you're using financial aid or anything like that. But yeah, really, we can structure a program that works for you. Whether you take one class, you take a full load, you take full-time, part-time, which it's very flexible.
Okay. Jesse, what are your thoughts on higher education and going into actually, I'll tell you what, before we dive off into that, should higher education be a requirement for promoting? What do you think there?
There's many different ways on answering that question. It's the old adage of, well, experience. And then we have some people say, well, no, college. So it's kind of like, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
The way we approach that thing is we take a 3-pronged approach where we look at a triangle, right? And what is the strongest structure on the planet? Triangle. So when we take higher education combined with state certification or professional certifications, your technical knowledge, and your over experience, what do we have? A perfect triangle. And what's great about that is because guess how every part does what? Your higher education goes into your certifications. Your higher education and your certification combined with your experience, what do we have? A very well-rounded individual. So we kind of, oh, so go ahead.
I had the benefit of a higher education. And I got into the fire service much later than after I graduated college.
Right.
I think truly, I think there's classes. Okay, so I'm going to be biased on this one.
Please do.
Everything that you've talked about, I think should be in a college class.
Right.
I think there's other things that, whether it's the classic, no one wants to take an HR class, but you really, if you have officer inspirations and you have the opportunity to take an HR class,
Right.
or I'm going to call it a moral and ethics class, but it's more on the legal side.
Business law.
Yeah. It's not an exciting class. You might have some things that are interesting that you're going to talk about, but it would be really nice to have an exposure to that.
Yeah.
Before you're literally thrown into the thick of it.
Right.
At the end of the day, for me, I take a very biased perspective on college. I don't care if you had the proverbial gender studies degree or a nuclear physics degree. The whole purpose of college is to prove that you can commit and follow through to something, that you can follow the structure program. You learn how to write, you learn how to communicate, and at the end of the day, you figure out how to socialize outside of being under your parents' roof. And to me, that is the purpose of college. Now, do not get me wrong. We're going to take specific degrees to focus on the career of our choosing, because it would make sense that a nuclear physicist probably doesn't need dance theory too much. Okay. But a nuclear physicist also needs to know how to communicate.
Correct.
The kicker I have with all of this is that you do have people, just due to circumstance, and it's not necessarily financial, they could never really had the opportunity to go to college.
Right.
And it's just life.
Mm-hmm.
How do we work within that confines of taking the concept? I 100% agree. Higher education is something that everyone should do. It should be incorporated more and more into the fire service, just for the raw benefits of it.
Right.
But how do we consider an individual where circumstances just, it's not there, particularly on the volunteer side?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot too. So let's say we take what we call kind of the non-traditional student, maybe not a school, high school for 10, 15 years. We're going to recommend that individual contact a program advisor, contact somebody at your community college offering the degree program that you're interested in. And we have tons of support services to help you. We have tutors. We have all sorts of things that whatever unique situation that you may be in, we have solutions to help you with that. Case in point, well, I need help with paying for school. We have financial aid officers. I need some help with getting books. We have reasonable solutions to help you. Or I've been out of school 20 years. I don't know if I can go back. Not a problem. We're here to help.
Yeah. Or 30 years in my case.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't, like we like to tell people is, it doesn't, we don't, nobody, it's like with NASCAR, nobody reports how you've started the race.
I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I'm on the other end of the spectrum. No college education per se.
Right.
But spent my whole adult life training, acquiring licenses. I'm probably the most licensed person. I hold more master's license in trades than probably anybody you've ever met in your life.
Right.
But all of that was, I just did it on my own, right? It was a drive and an initiative to learn the material to be able to do that. I didn't do it through an entity.
Right.
And I think there are pockets of people that are like me. It's far and few between now. I see the younger kids, and I have a college-age daughter, right? And so I'm watching her go through her little struggles, and she can't figure out how to send a professor an email because she's afraid she's going to sound stupid. She's very intelligent. I mean, she's on a academic full ride to TCU. So
Outstanding. Congratulations.
she's super smart, but high school and primary school did not prepare her at all for the real world. Like, not at all. Like,
Right.
the preparation she got because dad's a jerk, right? That was the extent of what she got for real life. And I think that for her, and she needs that experience to become a well-rounded person and succeed.
Right. And then even like personally, anything that you're doing to better yourself, whether it's you learning the trades, getting your master licenses and going for more of the licensure route or kind of like the journeyman type approach, absolutely awesome. We're just all about learn,
Yeah.
open your mind and learn.
And that's the bottom line.
Right. Whether you go to school or you go for more of a kind of, and I kind of look at the fire department very similar to almost like the trades.
Yes.
Whether it's electrical or plumbing or that, where we kind of have our own kind of in-house way. We kind of like the journeyman program or like that. And then when we add that other component, I keep adding like building blocks.
Well, and a good example is I've had a master air conditioning license in Texas since 2002.
Awesome.
I didn't get and I've been an electrician since I was basically a child.
Awesome.
It's child labor kind of thing.
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, but I didn't become a master electrician until about 6 years ago. I mean, it was a 25-year journey basically from start to finish.
And every day you were learning something new, right?
Absolutely. And this podcast is an example of learning something, right? We're here doing this because we enjoy learning things, and we learn the stories, and we learn just different aspects of perspective to expand our knowledge base to do better in what we're doing in life in our departments.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that Robert Frost poem, the 2 roads less traveled.
Right.
Yeah, so whichever path works for you, we're just saying, as they say, just don't sit there, learn something. Whether you're just taking, okay, let's take the tools out of the truck. Let's go. I haven't touched that tool in a while. Let's go open that up and maybe refresh our memory.
Right.
And then as we start going through it, and we firmly believe that, following even like the National Fire Academies, when we start adding knowledge, skills, and abilities, that's what we're really looking for.
So beyond y'all's fire science program that you're the head of, does Bossier Parish Community College do other fire? Is there a academy there, or is there?
Yeah, so when we get that, we have a lot. We work extensively with our state fire academy or the FETA, our Fire Emergency Service Academy. We have a great working relationship with our individuals over there, and we also what's very uniquely special about our parish, our county here in Louisiana, is we actually have a high school program for the traditional VOTEC center, where students in high school that are interested in careers in fire EMS can actually go to our local VOTEC center, or I don't want to say VOTEC center, but our technical education center, start earning their firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and EMT while they're in high school. And then they can transfer, and we give college credit for that. And then they transfer that into our fire science program, where they can then now earn their fire science associate's degree. And then we also have a partnership with Northwestern State University, where then they can take their fire science degree and then put that into a bachelor's degree.
Excellent.
Couple of questions for you. Are the classes full?
No, we are currently we would love to talk to anybody who's interested.
So, this is complete theory,
right?
Okay. What do you think's going on there? Why are we? So there's a joke I always make about firefighting.
Sure.
Firefighting's like smoking cigarettes in the 50s. It's free, cool, and addictive.
Right.
Okay. Why are we struggling with this right now? What do you think a factor is for recruiting? What's going on?
Well, we deal with this a lot, especially in our fire science program. When I got in, originally, I'll be completely honest with you. Originally, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I was thinking about maybe going to law school and maybe becoming some kind of lawyer. I'm not sure what I wanted to specialize in, but I was really thinking about that. What really got me in kind of basically a total 360, if you will, from going from law school to fire school was a little bit different. 9/11, September 11th. I don't want to sound cliche, but I was 19 when I saw the towers fall. I felt a call to service, and I don't mean to be cliche or anything like that, but
anybody that was in the fire service or that age at that time,
it was just
very
kind of,
impactful, right?
It was kind of when I saw. I'm literally waking up, watching on TV the towers. And it was just kind of like a shot in the night, a call to arms, and I joined the fire department.
Okay.
And so what I'm really seeing is what the way we can start getting into, and that had a huge impact. The homelands, I must protect my community. And I think when we start kind of interraces this, why do you want to be a firefighter? You're protecting lives and property. You're making a positive impact, kind of getting that, the heritage, the histories, the customs, traditions of the fire department from, Ben Franklin to, why do we do what we do? And so, like I says, we start to give that you're joining a community, you're joining a lifestyle. This is just not a 9 to 5. You're not just punching a time clock, just working a job. It is a job, but it's an amazing career. And we can start telling that people, look, yes, we understand you're not going to make $400 million a year being a firefighter. But on the flip side, look what you're getting. Everything you do means something. You have a great, you're part of an organization greater than yourself.
Right.
And I think if we can communicate that to our younger generation
So
today,
what's the struggle in the communication part? Because let me tell you, it's not just you. It's nationwide.
right?
Okay.
Like I said, I don't have all the
Yeah.
answers.
No. And the joke I make is that if anyone legitimately figures this out,
We're going to be a rich
we're
man.
billions.
Yeah.
So it's the proverbial question: how do you recruit? What do you think the solutions are, and what's some stuff that you're considering and maybe haven't done it yet?
Okay. What we really think is our communication model. When I got into the fire department, it used to be, let's go hang up a sign in front of the fire station saying volunteers wanted, right? And does that really work with our current generation? Where if we, the old traditional, hey, we need you, no one's gonna see it. Where we actually now we meet where our younger generation is TikTok, the social media. We can start making goofy videos, kind of Sparky dancing on the fire truck or something like that. I think that if we can maybe adapt our recruiting or our platforms, that's going to have a major impact.
So I 100% agree. But then how do you counterbalance that with the old guard, who is very anti Sparky dancing on top of the fire truck?
Right. We show up with results.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah. And it's,
You just do it, and then when someone starts to complain,
We show numbers.
yeah,
And this works.
yeah,
And if it works, we what? Go with it.
yeah, we see departments all over Texas specifically that are highly active on social media that have young people managing their social media processes and that are just flying past everybody else. We take an approach at our department where we've hired an outside marketing firm. They're handling stuff. We're doing ad spins with Facebook and Google and driving a lot of results that way, but it's not anything that you have to hire a firm and do or
Right.
it,
I think it's kind of a costly.
like even in the community college world,
Mhm.
there's marketing classes that someone
yeah.
could go take that would benefit the department and give some insight on how to do
Or even just taking some business classes.
right.
Yeah. Marketing, outreach, even if getting a multimedia degree.
Yeah.
the theoretical shortage. I mean, we could really go down the rabbit hole on this.
We could spend hours on this.
The theoretical shortage, and I do call it theoretical shortage of interest in the fire service, is a 100% self-inflicted casualty. When I took over as chief, we had 37 members. Today we have 90. That was 4 years ago.
Right.
Again, referencing free, cool, and addictive.
Mhm.
Well, if that was the case, you'd have 300 people signed up for your class each 8-week period.
Yeah, I'd have.
And the problem is that if particularly the VFDs, the combo departments, the career departments, because it's affecting all of them,
Right.
all getting
It's a nationwide issue.
yeah, they're all getting just baby seal clubbed on this. If the answer was internal, it would have already come internal.
Right.
We have got to break down our proverbial walls, our blinders, our little fortress that we've put ourselves in, filled with history and traditions, and completely blocked us to the generation that's outside the gates. I mean, I make this argument all the time with the current generation coming up. Everyone complains for the last 250,000 years. The next generation's the end of us.
Yeah, even
Okay.
Plato was saying that.
So
I
I,
think.
mean, we've been having this argument since we were throwing the first handfuls of water on the campfire loose in the cave.
Right.
Okay. today's generation, particularly in America, there's something brand new being instilled into these kids. And it's called compassion. That's compassion has always been a trait attributed to someone, not taught. And it's being taught now at kindergarten through 12. And there's there today's generation's generally community minded, they're community centered, and they have compassion. These are people that you would scream for,
Right.
generally, that you want as a firefighter. And yet we still are putting barriers in place, and it's communication
Right.
is the barrier,
Right.
to not be able to figure out how to tap into that untapped resource.
Right.
And the handful of us departments on the Texas side that have been willing to tell the old guard, we're not ignoring you, just be patient. Okay. You're going to put yourself in a position where you can't pass down the torch because there's no one to pass the torch to. Or let's see what we can bring in. And the departments that have embraced this and realized that, like, we like being volunteer, we want this to continue. Well, you've got to get people. And like I said, the irony is I see the same thing in Texas with the career departments, and we're talking big departments that used to have 4, 5, 6,000 people interview for 30 spots. Now they can't get 100 to show up for 200 positions open.
Right.
And then they still have to go through the background checks and all the interviews, and they're filling 45 slots are actually open, and they got 12 people to put in there. That's this class. So then you take that next group that you still got to hire for, and you lay it on your next group of 45. And that's where the fire service put itself at.
Right. And kind of some solutions. As you know, as firefighters, we're solutions people. What we're seeing is that even with our high school firefighter programs that are now becoming a reality, that's where we start getting our students in high school. We start teaching them the values, our customs, our traditions. And so we have a prime candidate in high school, or, you know, of that age, where we're getting them towards that career technical approach, so that when they're leaving high school, graduating high school, they already have that mindset of public service.
The only thing that I'll add to this, and this again goes to the higher education part of this, and it doesn't matter if it's career combo or volunteer, there has to be messaging to the old guard to realize, whether they like it or not, there's a generational change happening, and you have to stop acting like it's 1960. You cannot take whatever cherished ideology, culture, perspective, just this is the way we do it attitude from 70 years ago, and expect people to just embrace it with arms wide open, because this generation currently has been taught to not do that.
Yeah, think outside the box.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I think even as a fire service, when we start getting to one of our issues, but especially in volunteer or any kind of recruitment and tradition, we say we were going to honor the past, but we look forward to the future.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So as we start to wrap this up, I always like to ask kind of a couple following closing questions, and we've actually hammered it already, but just to kind of make the point here, in your real quick, before you were at the college, what were you doing?
Part of this, I worked at a large chemical factory. I was an industrial firefighter for several years.
Okay.
And then I even had the unique opportunity to work overseas. I took a contract in Antarctica.
Okay.
So I went way outside of the box, if you could say, and worked in Antarctica for a little bit.
Down at McMurdo?
Yeah, I was at McMurdo Station for a little bit and met my best friend down there. And he told me about an opportunity to start a fire science program at a community college here in Louisiana. And it was almost like the heavens opened above and said, you need to come do this. And I
Have you ever volunteered anywhere?
Yeah, I still currently work as a volunteer firefighter paramedic in my local combination department up in the northern part of Louisiana. So no, not only am I a program director or a college professor, I'm still an active paramedic and still an active firefighter. I love the job.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a fine point that we try and make with everyone is, and oddly enough,
I'm a working professional.
you find that there's volunteers of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, we
out
come in
there.
all different boxes.
So, what would you identify is one of the major problems? And I'm going to focus specifically on your little volunteer department, or maybe it's big. What is a major problem that your organization's currently facing?
Well, I think our issues, because every organization does have them, and
Oh, yeah.
we're nothing special than anything else. What we're seeing is we are identifying as the same as the national problem with volunteers. You know, it is very difficult within the volunteer fire service to recruit and retain. And some of the ideas of some of the solutions we have from that is we've started a high school program. We have an Explorer post. We have people going into the schools talking about the benefits of a career. And we're opening up doors. We have open houses where people can come in and see. We have college. So we're going out there to do outreach, and we're kind of showing to our community saying, become a volunteer. It holds value.
Okay.
And so
And
that's some of those
what are
issues
you
we're seeing.
guys doing physically or fiscally? What are you doing to try and address that problem? You've talked about the high
Right.
school program, but what else? What are you doing specifically to do that?
We do a lot of community outreach.
Okay.
And one thing very kind of, we got to get creative, right? So one thing with our fire prevention officer, she is amazing. We just did it. I know it's going to sound kind of maybe outside of the box, but we did a community water fight where we would actually go out. We kind of do like it's hot, it's July, especially even in Texas, where the fire department, we just have like a squirt gun fight. Nothing, just some fun. We meet our community. They start seeing us. We're out there. We're actually interacting with our community. We're having fun. And people see that and say, hey, you know what? I think I want to do that.
Well, and specifically when you're talking about volunteers,
Yeah.
if this isn't fun, why would you do it?
Right. So we try to make that fun. We try to hold value, saying, hey, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're enjoying what you do, is it work?
No,
No.
no.
So that's how we kind of, and of course, it's not all fun and games. We know that. But if you enjoy your work,
Yeah.
you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just the purpose of the podcast, messaging, networking,
Right.
but it is to get departments to talk to each other, because you'll have departments that people you'll never meet, departments you've never heard of, maybe not even in the US that'll hear this, but we'll hear from them. And you'll find that the problems that you're having there, they're the same problems everywhere.
Just the names and faces
Yeah.
change.
That's it.
That's it. And I think a lot of people, they have this discussion, but they're hesitant, scared, intimidated, whatever, to not just be brave and take that next step.
Right.
And they think that you have to take this colossal leap, and you don't. It can be just a simple starting with the discussion and moving on and broadening the discussion.
Right.
Start getting the organization involved in the discussion.
And even as I say, some of the best problem solutions come from the shop floor.
Mm.
Ask the firefighters. Ask the guy that I hate to sound like this, but the lowest man on the totem pole may have some great ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's always think is if I'm a chief officer and I really want to find out about something, I'm going to ask the rookie. Say, hey, how's this working?
Yes.
Or hey, rookie.
100%.
Right, because we look at our 19-year-old rookie firefighter, or 20-year-old firefighter. Why'd you want to join the fire department? And we start listening, and we start getting input from, because they got some great. That's how we found out about our community water battle.
Right.
Yeah.
And wow, we never thought about it. We had one of our volunteers. I think he was very new on the job. Just graduated high school. Showed our training officer this YouTube video saying, "Hey, this department's doing this. This looks really cool. Let's do it." And that came from
Yeah.
So some
Brand
of
new.
the best, so some of the best ideas you can get are from what, and just have that open community, because some people got some really great ideas.
Yeah. I read a post on Facebook the other day, and it resonated a little bit. So the premise of the post was, you don't need recruiting, you need retention, because
Right.
if you have good retention, your members will go do your recruiting for you. And that's
Right.
exactly what the the young person that came up
Right.
with this idea. He liked it so much he wanted to figure out a way to get more people involved, and that's the answer.
Right, and that's what we also tell too is even in our fire science program with our students, we'd like to give them even personal ownership in the program by saying, not only are you a student, but you're also an ambassador of Bossier Parish Community College.
Right.
So you have personal ownership in your own success.
Right.
So you're
Absolutely.
just not just a student; you're a member of our community.
Yeah.
And we like you here.
Yeah, makes a big difference. Oh, I can't thank you enough.
Appreciate the opportunity.
When anyone listening to this in Louisiana and you're interested in some of the more classes they teach, find Bo Bevan, Program Director, Fire Science of Bossier Parish, Louisiana. Call down there, guys, because it's something worth considering. And
You
if
guys
it's not
got a
even for
website?
yourself,
We do. You can find us at www.bpcc.edu.
Perfect.
that'll work.
And we'd love to have you in our program.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well,
Appreciate
thanks
your
again. Bob.
time. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we're back. So this time I was out stomping around. Stomping's a very strong word in this case. I was actually sweating profusely in the parking lot, and it's cool outside right now, according to the locals. And I was watching a little bit of an extrication class demonstration training, a little bit of everything going on there. And I just happened to catch the chief and two firefighters and decided to bring them in here. And we're going to have a little conversation with them. So I'm going to introduce Dylan and Jacob real quick, and Chief. And they are with, what department are you with, Dylan?
Livingston Parish Fire District 1.
Okay. And let's pretend that someone doesn't know where Livingston Parish Fire District 1's at. Jacob, where are they at?
Yes, sir. They're actually 15 minutes west of Hammond.
Okay. And how big is the old gigantic city of Hammond?
So we cover 49 square miles. We
Okay.
have a population of about 6,000 residents. Still a town, just not quite as big,
Just not a big old booming city.
yeah, not a big city.
It's,
Still pretty rural in most areas. So
Okay. This big question will be for Dylan and Jacob particularly. What got you guys interested in the fire service?
I would say it's just not a job. I mean, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not the same thing every day. You get there, it's more of a family.
Okay.
And something that you enjoy. And then once you get into the job, you get something called adrenaline. And once you get a little bit of that, it's just, you can't get enough of it. And it goes on from there.
So what you're talking about is something that I always tell everyone about the fire service. It's like smoking cigarettes in the 50s. It's free, cool, and addictive.
You take one, you want another one.
Yeah, it's always going to be there for you. Jacob, what about you? What got you into this?
I've always wanted to be a firefighter in the fire department. I like more of a structured type. So going into it, I knew it was going to be structured. And then once I got in it, it was more family oriented, and everything is based with religion, family, and everything in that nature. So it just pulled me closer with everybody. So I'm able to feel like more of at home.
How old were you when you first joined?
18,
And how old are you now?
26.
Okay. And Dylan?
I got in actually as a senior in high school. I started off as a junior firefighter. I was one of the first departments. I was 17, I would say. And as soon as I made my 18, I joined the volunteers as an actual volunteer. And went from there. Went to the LSU Fire Academy in June of 2020. And
Okay.
I went and worked at Eastside Fire Department for a little over 3 years. And this October, I went to Hammond, City of Hammond Fire Department. And that's where I'm currently at full time.
All right. Now, with your guys' area, I know you're a little town. What is your primary call volume? What do you have that's your typical call volume? Is it a mixture of that urban and suburban, rural, or what do you have?
I think we get a good mixture of everything. We have probably 75-80% medical,
Okay.
which is an average for everybody around us. We do burn a couple of fires a year, but majority is medical. I mean, we run the med recs and stuff like that. But majority, I would say, is medical.
Okay. Now, Jacob, for you, how did you're a Louisiana certified firefighter, right?
Yes, sir.
What was your process for that?
So after in 21, I went through Hammond's Fire Academy and got all my certifications. They hired me on, and they sent me through their academy. Got all my certifications. In 21, now I'm working to get more certifications. Now going through FEDA. Actually, we're going into Texas A&M this coming up winter to take a few more certification classes.
You ever been to Teeks?
No, sir.
That's a big school there.
Well, they came over October last year, and I did a wide area search with 3 Teeks.
Okay.
And that was pretty interesting.
So what you guys, and you can definitely correct me on this. You were closer to the coast, right? Or are you north?
We're north of the coast. We're probably at least 2 hours away from any kind of coast.
Okay, so you have this particular weather event that has a tendency to happen in Louisiana, and when it does, it happens to affect a lot more than one part of the state. What do you guys do with your hurricane response? So I'm sure you get flooding, but how does your organization handle a big storm like that? It does cover statewide. How does that work for you, Jacob?
Yes, sir. So we call it Team Albany. So everybody in Albany knows everybody. It's just such a small town. So the police department, fire department, we all come in together. The town workers, we all come in, and we'll stay weeks at a time and go out throughout our district. Of course, so we don't really go outside of the district much since we're so small. But we could go throughout our district and help out the community with whatever they need. We clear trees, put tarp on roofs and everything like that.
And Dylan, what else work do you guys do? Are you on Team Albany also?
That's correct.
So what else do you do with that?
And as an event like a hurricane
Yeah.
storm like that, Albany is a small town. It's one town. It's got single red light. So an event of a hurricane like that, town basically all comes together, like you said, everybody, not just the fire department. It's everybody involved in emergency services of town, and we cooking. I don't know if y'all know about Southern Boys Outdoors. I know they come in, and basically it's not just for us. We take care of the whole community and whatever that needs to be.
Now I know you guys are going to get flooding, but what is a storm hits like that? What are the conditions and just whatever you're having to deal with there?
It's trees down, it's flooding. And with event of flooding, we have high water trucks, and we're walking in the water as far as we can, and then we're getting on the boats and the high water trucks and doing whatever needs to be done. Get trees out of the roadway, just trying to get everything back operational.
And Jacob, what are some of the hazards you're dealing with in that proverbial scenario?
Mainly for us, it's more of power lines. Because everyone else, they normally keep everything well tight city around their house. Definitely like gas cans and stuff, they always keep them in one area for some reason. I don't understand it. But it's more down power lines, and we do have a lot of snakes. We don't have alligators yet, but that will be coming very soon, I'm sure. But we do have a lot of snakes and stuff like that.
Okay.
In the flooding.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to take it for a second. And one of the things I've noticed about the Louisiana in general and the culture here is folks in Louisiana are way more community, family driven than even in Texas, right? We had this conversation with several different people, and that sense of helping your neighbor, right? What do you think drives that more in your culture than because it's definitely not something that you see in the Northeast or something like that. There's different things different motivations, and I see the community motivation strong here. Why is that? Why is that part of the culture in Louisiana?
For me, that's just how I was raised. That's my family. Like, so if you see someone in need of help, you help them. No questions asked. You just do it. It's just like second nature.
So is that is that something you see as a normal trait for everybody around you for the most part, and everybody in your communities, or is there parts of the state that are more prone to that than others? Because I see that kind of southern Louisiana bunch as just being like they're all in on whatever's happening, right? They're going full force. Dylan?
I guess it's like how you're raised, like they said, and always family comes first. As soon as you get your family situated, and that's when we go out to take care of everybody else and do what we need to do.
It's kind of a hard question because you guys are just used to it. Okay, I'm going to use a really weird analogy. All right, but imagine 300 years ago, you've lived in Louisiana. This is all you know, and you're talking to someone that's been from like northern Canada, a trapper from northern Canada, and they're trying to describe snow. Okay, it's for you. You don't really see at how big of a difference it really is. The community part. I, I, people are begging for that outside of your state. They're begging for that and they can't figure it out. And this, like I said, this is a really hard question to describe because you know it, you live it, it is you. And we're trying to describe something that's, it's foreign. It really is.
So kind of like they said, it's the way you were raised. It's kind of just the way of life for us. And so it is different to see when we go other places. It everyone's not always as hospitable as we feel like we are. The last hurricane Ida, we had a strike team coming from Illinois, and they were extremely impressed. Our whole community is going through a disaster. People have lost their homes, no power, no water for days on end, and they come here out of state, and our community still reaches out to them. They came to the fire station to cook for us, for the Illinois teams. Hopefully, I would like to say that once you experience that, you can take that back to your own community and try to build those things. It's very hard the way that the world is these days. Everybody's kind of worried about themselves, but it makes us feel good to know that we've grown up in a community that supports each other as opposed to, I guess, everyone kind of turning their backs on each other in a time of need.
I don't think it's quite as, it's not as black as white as, I'll give you a terrible example, but it's just for the analogy. If you had a flat tire in California, someone's going to stop. Okay, they will. You need help in New York, someone's going to help. But here, again, it's hard to describe. It's almost like an aura. It's just part of the atmosphere. It is as much as part of the swamp as it is the person, as the air. It's different here. It's a different culture, different people. I won't say different ethics. Same ethics. Firefighter New York has the same ethics as you guys.
Right.
Maybe not the snakes, but they're going to have the same ethics. But it's the joke I've been making is that in Texas, here in Louisiana, you guys have swamps. You're used to all staying together on an island out of the water. Or in Texas, well, everyone just they want line of sight. They want to be able to see who's coming at them and where. And I know that's kind of a ridiculous way to say it, but that's the mentality. And Texans are known for their hospitality, and of course, just like you guys, your character disposition, the I said earlier, southern hospitality. Texas has their version of that, but it's not as accepting of taking a complete stranger in, and within minutes they're in. They're in like Flint and
Make
Morgan.
them like family.
Yeah.
I mean, you want, I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah,
It's just the way you grow up, the way you're raised, but I guess you want people to feel included or feel welcomed and taken care of. That is a very hard question. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what that is and how it happens.
where it's all coming from is I'm sitting here trying to figure out basically how do you package it and export it. You don't. What you have to do is you have to take your guys literally and get you out there outside of your local areas, which isn't going to happen. I mean, it's not a free range circus where everyone's just going to be able to come out for their own special department, but it's something that I think there's something that you guys have in this area. And I mean, we're at a state convention, so we're seeing departments from all over the state.
Right.
Okay. So it don't matter if it's from Shreveport. It doesn't matter if it's from near New Orleans. It doesn't matter if it's from Lake Charles or Baton Rouge and everything in between. We're still seeing it. And it's ironic because Texas literally shares a border with Louisiana, and it is not that way there. It's still hospital. It's still good. People care, but it's just different. Jesse?
Yeah, no, and that was kind of the point I was trying to get to, that it's so different, but it's refreshing, right? It's this eye-opening thing to see that there's good people everywhere, but there's really good people in Louisiana. Like they're on another plane of just good peopleness, right? And generally in the fire service, everybody's got a good heart and they're doing the right thing, and that's one aspect of it. But just to see the interactions from the vendors to other vendors to the fire department people to the vendors to this department to that department, and they be opposite ends of the state, and I promise you these guys would give their shirt on their back to any one of these people in this room. I mean, it's truly awesome, and I commend you guys and appreciate just that is the thing, right?
Yeah. What I'm sitting here thinking about is I'm wondering, have you guys interacted with other departments, ECU, in the sense of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia? Have you had any real interaction with departments that direction?
Yes, sir. I go to a lot of there's a conference called CFT. It's over in Pensacola, out of Escambia County, and that's departments from all over the United States that come there.
So are you, what is the word I'm looking for here? Are you recognizing at all what I'm talking about, where the guys that are from the classic Deep South are just different in a crowd than the guys that are from whatever, Kentucky or even the
They
Carolinas?
stand out a lot. A lot of the other guys up north, they like, from my interactions with them, they try to stand out a lot more instead of trying to stay behind the scenes. Like, they like to talk. I mean, everyone likes to talk. They just like to hear their stuff out, in my personal opinion.
How about you, Dylan?
I have had no personal experience with Louisiana, other than we had the hurricane. The guys came and
Okay. Like I said, this is,
team.
I mean, we're talking like really advanced, like firefighting culture stuff here, which there's no answer to. But it is, and like I said, you're just going to have to take my word for it. I've been to a lot of trade shows. Even the interaction between the vendor and the customer, completely different here than I've seen anywhere else.
It's actually funny you say that. As you mentioned, the extrication deal, that all just developed over the last 24 hours. Talking to one of the guys, cutting up, having a good time. Hey, do y'all have y'all's bunker gear? Yes. You don't come cut on a car, And so the conversation with them this morning was that, there was a couple vendors out there they're cutting up back and forth. We're all joking around. And his exact comment was that, man, we can't do this, in other areas, other states. We go to other conferences. We can't cut up and joke amongst this vendor to that vendor. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I will like. Here, the vendors would they work with each other, and I do mean work. You go anywhere else, oh Christ, no, the fortifications are up and set the armaments. It is like that. And that's in Texas.
Yeah. So I don't have any personal experience outside of really here, other than, the strike teams that came to help after the hurricane. So and that's a little foreign to me, even for them to say that this morning. I wouldn't say it's shocking, but, it kind of opened my eyes that maybe not everywhere is like here. To be around competitors that can get along or have fun together.
Yeah, no, that is indisputable fact. Nowhere is like here. Talking about y'all's extrication demo deal that y'all did this morning, and you just popped up that it was basically impromptu, right? But you guys look like that was planned for the last 3 months. You did. It was very seamless. You did a good job. You have good teamwork. Everything just clicked. So in y'all's department is auto accidents a big part of what y'all running on, and kind of give us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we are just outside of where I-55 and I-12 cross. We cover about 4 miles of interstate runs through our district. We run a good bit of major accidents through there. So we do train a decent amount on an extrication. The three of us have worked together on stuff too. So we kind of know what each other's doing, going, who's doing what, without really discussing what's going to happen next. So we know what the goal is. We train and execute.
Yeah, that's that training aspect of it. It's kind of the key to everything, and just a constant, ever evolving, continue to work on the skills and all that. Uh, the tools y'all used obviously were demo tools that came off of a demo truck. Is that y'all's brand? Were you familiar with the tools to the extent, or?
So that's not a brand that we use in our department, but we've done training with those tools in the past. So
Okay.
we were kind of familiar with the tools and how to handle. But that's not what we have. And I guess, going back to training, no matter what tool you have in your hand, make it work for what you got to do. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, what did you think about the tools, Dylan?
I didn't think it got any better with that. I mean, a lot of people want to get into the weight factor of a tool and everything behind it, but once you get it in a position where it's working and it's taking off and it did its job right there, we had no problems with it.
The Amicus tools, I really enjoy them. They're faster. They are a little bit heavier, but you have to be somewhat strong in this profession to be able to lift up and do everything else. So weight shouldn't matter. Uh, then you're able to change the tips out on spreaders, and they work good. Like you can do a lot more damage with the Amicus with a wider.
You do a lot more techniques and cuts and stuff with minimum tools.
Yeah.
You're cutting out a ram. You're basically doing everything with the spreaders as far as rolling a dash, something like that. With the tips that you can change on it, it showed us a lot of new techniques. I think it. I think.
No, I get it. It's fine. I'm gonna change gears again. Your guys' organization. What is some from your perspective? And I'm gonna ask Chief this question too. Your perspective. What are some of your biggest difficulties or challenges that you guys are facing today? And then the very next part of that, so you're going to have to follow it up with what is your solution or something to consider about how to address that. So, Dylan, you get to be the first one.
I would say our first major problem is I don't think it's just us as a department. I think it's everywhere within the volunteers is manpower is the first and getting people to come in and help us. Uh, it's just something that it's kind of eased away over the years, and we're just trying to see a solution and see what we can get in there.
Have you guys tried anything like just whatever recruiting
We done
campaign?
little recruitment drives where we basically do demonstrations, and if they want to come watch, participate, us do our drills, and we open the station, see what they want to come look and view, and basically what the volunteers are about.
Okay,
Uh,
awesome.
And that's pretty much how we got our solution.
All right, Jacob. Now we've got the easy one out of the way: manpower and recruiting. What's another struggle and difficulty for you guys from your perspective?
It would really be more of capability. A lot of people, they want to do the job, they have the heart for it, but they're just not able to. So
Okay.
we can get people in, but it's hard for some people just to go into a house, burning house.
So, what is a solution that you think ought to be looked at or considered? What's an answer to that question?
So we just started training a lot every week, just this past year. Because in the past we trained once a month. So we all looked at it, and we decided we should train every once a week. So we're doing that, and we see an improvement, but it's not drastically yet. So
Yeah, well, and I'll give you this. So anything that happens on the volunteer side can be measured at a geological time scale. It just is like a glacier running. It takes time, years, for it to really come all the way through its proverbial cycle. And it don't matter how hard you yell, it don't matter how hard you push, you still got to push that block of ice down that valley, and it's only gravity, and it's we're talking about inches a year at times. You got to just kind of be satisfied with, hey, this is improvement. We're making the push in the right direction. Now, how about you, Chief? What do you think some of the bigger challenges and difficulties facing your service today?
So I know they've both mentioned it, but the recruitment retainment, one thing we've also done, adding on the trainings and things, getting people involved like that, we feel like they want to show up more often. And when they do show up, they have the capabilities to perform, not just stand around and, I got to roll hose when we get done or pick up tools, giving them the education to be able to do the things that we're already doing, kind of feed them, makes them hungry, and show up more. We've also kind of expanded our junior kind of recruiting, reaching down into the high school levels, trying to get those young minds interested at an earlier age, get them some exposure, and draw those in. The whole volunteer shortage thing is nationwide. So when you try to figure out a way, everyone's wanting, what do I get on this? What's for me? Why should I show up? We're asking people to put in more training hours, show more calls, be at the station more to do things. And a lot of times these young guys and ladies want to know what they're going to get in return. And so if you can get them exposed to that feeling that we all get running calls, and helping people, that kind of self-gratification, I think that's kind of a pull to get them to come.
That was, at the end of the day, the very start of our podcast was based off of me and Jesse sitting there just jabbering away. And we had created a growing department. And basically the joke and statement was made, well, we should probably tell other people about this because we know everyone's this is a burning
Same
thing
interest,
for
yeah.
everyone. And I always use this analogy. When I recruit, I don't go fishing. I'm going to throw that line and reel back in the truck, and I go get a Japanese trawler and throw a 50-mile long drift net, and I drop, and I'm catching everything. Yeah, there's some whales, and there's occasional turtle in there, and some rocks, but I'm pulling it all on deck, and I want it all. Bring it to me, because now I can sort it.
Right.
We've got the application process. We have interviews. And it'd be if I had one thing to tell everyone for growing a department, when I took over as chief, we had 37, I'm at 90. You can't grow. And I have the same sorry idiot teenagers that you have. It's just trying to figure out how to connect with them.
Okay.
And it's just, don't be afraid to just get what you can, however you get it, and sort it when it's at the bay. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in all of this is just target however you want to recruit. And there's me and him can talk 10, 15 different ways to recruit. Some of them are great. Some of them I wouldn't recommend at all. But we tried it because we just needed to see what would be the outcome of
What would end up sticking.
Right. Social media, and don't get me wrong, social media would be the death of all of us. Okay. But social media can be a huge benefit too. The other nice part about social media, I think let me rephrase this. As much as I'm touting social media, I don't really do the social media for us. But it took a while, but we really tapped that and really got that going. Our volunteer fire department social media following's bigger than the population of our town now.
Wow.
So
amazing.
And it didn't just happen overnight.
Right.
There was 5, 6, 7 years to work into that before it finally became a thing. But that's just one avenue. The other beautiful part about social media is it's real cheap to advertise on social media. But no, like I said, this common thing. It's career, it's combination, it's volunteer. Everyone's kind of dying the death of 10,000 paper cuts on it. And the last thing I'll say is there is no cookie cutter playbook. Do 1, do 2, do 3, and now you have 50 people. It's not that way, because what works in my area may not work at all in your area. It's just one of those things where you have to do a lot more drift netting and just try different stuff. My last question to you is, I know family is a big deal in your area. Is the family ideology and culture also inside your department? Is wives and are they bringing kids? Are the fathers bringing in their sons? How do you guys handle all that?
We do a couple family events, family day at the pool and cook and all those things. But it's not as strong as I would like personally. And I think kind of going back to what you were saying about, sorting table fish and shrimp and, whatever that may be. For a long time, the expectation has been the same for every person that walks through the door. You have to do this. You have to be able to do this. These are the expectations. You need to be able to go into a structure fire every day, XYZ, whatever that may be. So in the last couple months, we've kind of started discussing maybe an auxiliary, maybe a, different support roles, because to be honest, not everybody that comes through the door is capable of doing the same things, no matter how much you train them. So I think trying to find everyone's little area that they can work in.
Sure. And one challenge for you guys is you still have paid career staff, correct?
Yes,
So,
and kind of
and that's an unusual, not circumstance, but trying to balance that dynamic that you're talking about, because that's really easy to do on the volunteer side, because you don't have the, for lack of better words, standard expectation for a career department, and having their kids at work with them all the time. So, and I get that 100%. That's a unique challenge that you have to figure out how to balance in this equation.
yeah, and kind of go push that through to the family involvement. I think if we can find a place for not everyone, but a majority of people, you kind of start putting those things together. This person might be good at this, and that might supplement here. Kind of pull those people together.
One thing, there's a department right next to us, and the damn chief's brilliant for doing this. So he was kind of having a problem with particularly his young families showing up to train. So what he literally did is his wife and a handful of the other older ladies that aren't on the department, but they support the department, they opened up a daycare during training so that the husband can literally bring the kids, little ones, very little, to training, drop them off. Mama can stay home and just have a moment of where she's not having to listen to screaming for 3 seconds. Okay. And dad's off doing department stuff. Well, that transitions into Mama ultimately coming to the fire department. Okay. And then that's transitioning into she's joining also. And it was all spurred from just, damn it, I just want to try and get more people here. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the cascading benefit of that. And like I said, that's just one kind of cheesy sample I'm giving you. But yeah, no, what you're talking about, that's part of it. We're having the same discussion right now in our organization. The funny thing is we're getting the feedback from the membership. They're wanting much more family involvement, much more. And the irony in this is I'm about the last person on the face of the earth that you want trying to figure out how to get families involved in something. So that's something where I'm turning to my assistant chief, Jesse.
Yeah, it's become to the forefront of our organization, just that family involvement. And we've had a kind of a firefighter dinner thing that's happened annually where it's just a night off for the members. We get other departments to come cover our district, and we basically have a party, right? And it's a once a year deal. And this year it was just put out that, my God, the families are gonna come. This isn't gonna be us. They're the ones that are behind the scenes that are allowing us to do what we do, right? They're the ones that are supporting us in our endeavors, and the mom at home taking care of the kids or whatever. We're missing little Johnny's soccer game because we're running calls, and they're the ones that are paying a price for our passion that we're taking on ourselves, and we need to include them and make them part of what we're doing so that, one, that they don't resent it, right? My wife spent years just hating the fire department, right? And now, and she was a member, but it took me away from her, and she felt it as an antagonist, a challenge, yeah, a divide. And it wasn't ever that for me, but that's how she saw it. And you've got to bridge that gap.
So, Dylan, what about you guys? Obviously, I don't know yet. I don't know if you're married or you have a wife and you have 10 kids. Doesn't matter. You guys as young men, what is your kind of thought of, because again, you've got that dynamic, your combo department. Okay. How do you possibly incorporate more of a family atmosphere into this theoretical situation that we're talking about?
So I'm just as eager as all of us here is to get the families involved. It's a big part of it. And my part of it is I just like it to be a family oriented thing and not just like a part-time job. I want it to be like a brotherhood and sisterhood combined. And we just come train, take that seriously, and the rest we just hang out and it's family time.
Okay. How about you, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on this?
Like I said earlier, we are family oriented, but we could bring our kids around more. We bring them around some, but during trainings, I don't know how you said y'all's neighboring department has a little daycare. We're sometimes we can bring kids to the station, but we have to do inside stuff, so we can't do that hands on like what all the members would like to do. We like
Like I said, it's a legitimate balancing act there. I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We had station rats. These guys, they grew up in the station, and I mean, we're talking can't walk yet, and they're at the station. Okay, we have kids that have been a part of this department and made more fire calls than probably any career person would ever make in their life because they were on the department for 18 years, and we're very busy VFFD. Well, by the time they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they're literally riding out on the engine. There's this seat belted in, all this stuff. Yeah, someone's gonna have a heart attack over this. Don't care. Okay. And a couple of them, I can think of one girl. She's as much to the fire department as ever. She never joined. She never did. She just never really had an interest in it, but her daddy did. She liked being around her dad. And it's just, again, career department, combo department, that gets a little weird. I understand that. I'm not encouraging chiefs or officers to grab your rugrats and throw them in the back of the squad and go hammer out to whatever, but it's part of it. We talk about culture, strong culture like you guys, and ironically, in this case, the family equation is a hang up for you. And I get why, because again, it's strictly from looking at it from the city side, and then you have to always deal with that one person that's going to call, why the hell's their children up there? So on and on. I get it, 100%. You know, I don't even know what that looks like, but it's something that I think not just you, not just us, universally, everyone should really, really be figuring out how to take the mistress out of the fire department and bring it back to that community standard. So, Jesse, you got anything else to add on that? Okay, guys, I really appreciate your time. This was a pretty wild discussion there. We went all over the place. We really do appreciate it. And for our last handout here, Dylan, I'll just have you say goodbye, and then we'll just bounce down the line, okay?
Appreciate it having us on here and letting us have a little time of discussion. And thank y'all for doing what y'all do. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, not a problem.
thank y'all for having us on here. It was very eye opening. I've never done a podcast before, and I think I could do it again. Thank you, y'all.
Excellent. Chief?
Yeah, just to echo what they said, we appreciate y'all talking with us. I'm not sure if anyone could take anything away from what we had to say, but maybe they could, and hopefully this will help someone out elsewhere. And we just appreciate y'all and what y'all are doing, and we're always open to any kind of tips that anybody else is willing to share with us too. So thank y'all.
Chief, really appreciate it. Guys, thanks for coming in. And we appreciate you taking time to actually go to your state convention. Wish there was more people here, but you can say that at about just anything anymore. And it's nice to see a young department still working, going forward. Thanks again, guys. And we're back, and this time I've got Chris. So, Chris, give me the quick rundown. What department are you with? What part of Louisiana are you located in? And when did you start?
I'm with Shakopee Volunteer Fire Department. I'm in the southeast corner of the state of Louisiana, and I started it in 1984.
Okay. What got you into it?
My grandfather and my dad was in the volunteer fire department in Thibodeau from way back when. I know that South Thibodeau Fire Department started in 1958, and I think my grandpa was in it from there. And then when my daddy was old enough, he got in it, and he was always in it, and me following in footsteps per se.
Okay.
We joined when we turned 18, so 1984 was when I turned 18. I My birthday was in the beginning of October, and their meeting was at the end of October. So within a couple of weeks, when I made 18, I was into the fire department.
In
at
like
that point.
Flynn.
Yeah, and I've been in it since.
Now, is it still volunteer, or do you have a full-time
it's-
career somewhere else?
Nope, it's all volunteer.
Okay.
The departments here are volunteer. They may have, some of them will start to have one person part-time volunteer. In Lafourche Parish, Terrebonne has some that are starting some pay because the volunteer part is going down, and we are trying to still protect the property and lives of the citizens of the state of Louisiana. So
Sure.
things have changed.
What do you do for full-time work?
I'm the emergency preparedness director for Lafourche Parish government.
Okay.
So yes, I do the emergencies on a wide scale. It's more just firefighting. I work with all the fire departments in Lafourche or wherever is needed. I started this the LSFA way back when, and I forgot what year it was. My conference, I became president in 16. My conference was in 2017. And there was a couple of years I wasn't on the board, but then I was asked to become the parliamentarian and sergeant at arms for LSFA. So I'm back on the board helping out, which I love to do. And
Now, on the Louisiana State Firefighters Association,
Mhm.
give us just a little history on it. Little kind of what's the purpose of the organization? History, just tell us.
history, it got started way the 119 years ago, and it was to help out the departments, from what I understand. And now is to help out the departments and legislation, making sure some laws and all are not changed as far as grants or supplemental pay, and a lot of things like that for the paid firefighters and the volunteers. Because we also go to DC once a year to help out with some of the grants that the federal government give out, to make sure that they're not cut or decreased, because that helps us tremendously in the state of Louisiana on purchasing equipment.
Now, is that something that specifically the president of the association does, or do you have a dedicated lobbyist, or what's the process?
We get people from our board, and it depends on how many can go to DC when they have their conference, and I forgot the terms of it. What's the name of it? But they go to DC and they'll meet with the congressman to talk grants, anything that could get, any legislation that could across the state, or
So it's a combination of lobbying and hitting those congressional committees.
right to make sure like the AFG grant they don't cut the grant, or any other grants that could come our way,
Right.
or if there's any other ways we can look at stuff there, and if there's a statute or a law that we need to have put in place or changed or stay the same, all that's done while there's a week in Washington D.C.
So
talking to you.
with your state association, beyond just being a member, a department having a membership in your association, how else can the department support, particularly the board, and all of the endeavors that the board takes on in any given year?
Well, we listen to the membership and the departments on what they think we can do to help them out, as far as anything, any legislation that needs to be passed, stay the same, or grants or whatever things, because a lot of things from the federal government come to the state as the grant, and we become the sub grantee.
Okay.
So it passes through the state to come to us. Some of them, it goes from the federal government straight to us. It depends on how the grant is written, and also on the legislation. Then we help the departments in the lobbying on certain laws, legislation, there to go and do that because we are one of the biggest associations in the state of Louisiana. So usually when we ask for something, they'll listen because our membership is right around 12,000. There we are. We either the top or the second associations, the largest in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So when you at that point is
Yeah,
it helps.
You're a lot of
Strength in
voters.
numbers.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that in Louisiana that y'all have some kind of a property tax abatement or something for.
That's each individual department
Okay.
or parish that does that. As far as us, we don't have that. We have membership dues,
Okay.
and we have the departments pay a fee, and then each member pays a fee, and that's what we use to operate the association of. Now we do have some little grants and all that we get for Amber and some other one that makes donations to the association for us to operate off of. This conference helps raise money for the association to operate off. It depends on the membership, who comes and how many come in, the price and the price of the hotel. It all averages out. It depends on who comes, that amount of money that we make,
Right.
that we generate. That
What's
helps out.
what's some of the biggest challenges that the association's facing right now? And I'm sure there's countless. And
Yeah, that's kind of a hard question. Sometimes it's members and departments joining the association sometimes because and coming to here is the cost. And some of the departments in the state of Louisiana, they go off for a millage or a parcel fee that they raised to operate the department, and it's really not enough money to come to the conference because they have to pay their normal bills. They got to pay their insurance, and everybody knows that the insurance is not going down, it's going up. So the insurance on their trucks, their buildings, or whatever, it's going up, especially with the 2.0 that's hitting the state of Louisiana. And I can say that because I work for a parish. That's increasing your building insurance, and then some of that affects the vehicle insurance. Nothing is going down because I'm without my department. We used to pay $32,000 a year for all of our fleet and buildings. It's probably getting closer to $40,000 at this point, and we have the exact same equipment
And the same income.
and same income.
Yeah.
We just increased. We got a parcel fee. We just went from $45 a parcel to $75 to try to cover those costs. Otherwise, and because we run a fair once a year that generates money. So between that and that parcel fee, all of our bills, we built a new station and we got one truck we just finished paying for, so we're getting another truck. But unfortunately, that's not going down because as soon as you put the word fire in front of something,
It's
and
expensive.
it increases. Everybody hears and they kind of laugh at me, but and it's true. If you put the word fire in front of anything, the price goes up because of NFPA standards.
yeah,
And we understand the standards there because we are just purchased a truck in if I remember right, it's $535,000.
Yep.
So it's
It's
the note on that's
never ending deal.
$50,000 a year for X amount of years.
So we've talked to several folks throughout the day and the last 2 days, and one of our observations is that the folks in Louisiana are just the level of I lost the words, but they're, come on, Matt, help me out here.
so
in a volunteer part of it, if you look at the departments in the state of Louisiana, 80% of the departments are all volunteer. Now you have some departments that are paid, and you look at New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and you're gonna have some Shreveport. You have some are
Career.
that are paid, or they are a combination. They are paid because of their budget or whatever they can do to have. Some people are paid and then volunteer. So you got combinations there, but 80% are volunteers. So that tells you a lot of, say, Louisiana, of a person helping a person next door. And we have said it, even Mr. Tim said it last night. You'll go when that alarm goes off where we go. I'm gonna go help the person next door, but then me and you can fight. And if something happens to you, I'm gonna go and help you, and we're gonna worry about it later on what we're fighting about.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go help that person next door,
The
whatever it
culture,
may be.
the culture that you have here in this area, and again, it's a state convention. Okay,
Mhm.
so you have people north, south, east, west, all over the state, centrally located. And all I can tell you is your culture here is just different in a good way. Couple of different observations. Your vendors that you had set up for your show and the way they interacted with their clients, much more personable, friendly, uh, professional. Well, obviously, but that's adding the word professional to this conversation's an insult to what you guys have going on because it's not a professional thing. It is family. It is compassion. It is good times, and it is the way that you guys interact, department to department, department to vendor, department to stranger. Because again, we're the outsiders here,
Mhm.
and
We
it
look at everything as a friendship.
yeah.
If we buy or not, we still friends. Because one day I may get with you, or you may, and everybody knows it depends on the price, unfortunately. But
You
we
hear a
still
real
talk and
common
shake hands,
right.
and
You hear a real
don't hold
common
anything
theme.
against each other.
You hear a real common theme in the U.S. right now about fire service culture. Your culture's not dead here. Like
No.
I haven't been at the departments themselves, but the people I'm interacting with, Jesus, I think more people need to take some field trips and get down here and actually interact with the people. And that's the kicker. It has nothing to do with the building. It's the people and the
Yes.
people that are in those buildings. There's a lot to learn here. And it's hard to describe. And we kind of did this weird kind of litmus test because we had Albany over here earlier and trying to get him to describe, tell me, what is different about you versus everywhere else outside of Louisiana? And again, for them, it's almost impossible to describe because it's just who they are. And it's a real incredible thing to interact with and see, and quite frankly, it's refreshing. I don't know the huge discussion part that me and Jesse will jabber about for a while. I don't know how you adopt it because we're talking about not just a behavior or a habit. You have to have, for lack of better words, a fundamental swing in a person and in a community to have that result. And you guys have it down here, and it's really incredible to see it.
Well, we appreciate that, and it's a lot of it's family and friends. Like I said before, if we can argue and we can sit here and argue at the table across from each other because we disagree on things, uh, which is not say a bad thing in a sense, because sometimes when you have that discussion, a disagreement, something comes out of it, maybe in a good way. But when it's all said and done, like I said, we can argue, but then if the alarm goes off or something happens, we're gonna help you out, one way or another. And when it's over, you're gonna get up, shake each other's hand, and keep moving forward. That's the way I see it from way back when. Because, like I said, I've been in those discussions, those arguments, and when it's all said and done, whatever's decided by the membership, like a department, whatever's decided, that's what it is. It's done. When I was president here, we had discussions on the uniforms, maybe changing the uniforms. But when it was all said and done after that meeting, we all moved forward, and all right, that was done. That was decided, and we'll keep going. There's nothing pointing or staying mad at each other. It is what it is. That's what we're doing. And if we want to change, we can just discuss it again.
Yeah.
And
Well,
no
and
hard feelings.
it's part of that. It's more important than me or you or
Mhm.
any individual here, right? And
Yes.
what this whole conference and the whole interactions that are happening here and all that is something bigger than ourselves or our specific department or our uh, town that we cover or anything like that. It's broad reaching and It's
Well,
really
there's a
important.
lot of stuff. That's one of the statements that we have it helps us out in the long run. We have joined these departments to save lives and property. And if as long as you keep that in the back of your mind, what you're here for, you can move forward. Like I said, you can sit there and argue, and when it's said and done, go. But when that alarm goes off, we're here to save lives and property. We're going to do that. When it's said and done, we'll come back, and then we'll keep moving forward. That's
And
a lot of people in a lot of departments from Louisiana have that.
I've
the back
heard
of their
that
mind.
several times throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you traveled outside of Louisiana in the fire capacity and interacted with other departments outside of the state much?
No, I've been to some conferences with the parish, and we kind of talked, but not really too much on a.
So to get a goofball question at you, have you noticed that if you leave Louisiana, that people are just more distant and standoffish is not the right word, but just not as personable, more distant, more reluctant? Have you noticed that at all in your traveling?
A little bit. I went to conferences with the parish, and you can see that in a general sense, not just on fire. It's different.
Right.
I can tell it's different
And
because of where I'm from, where I'm at.
And that's kind of the point that, like I said, from our perspective, it's really cool to see the other side of it because again, Texas is known for its hospitality, Louisiana,
Mhm.
different people, but I mean, again, I'm telling you, it is completely different, from even fire department to fire department interaction. It is, and it's not negative different. It's just completely different. It's
Well, we
kinda
have
crazy.
for our ratings with PAL and a lot of things that we do. Part of it, we got to have agreements to help each other out in them ratings because we can get agreements. And I'll give you one: a backup fire truck. You get extra points there, but a lot of like my department, it's not going to get a truck to be a backup there at that price. In case one of my trucks goes down, you put that one in play. So that's a whole truck with equipment on it, just sitting there. You can't use at a fire, but I can use it for trainings, other stuff. But if one of my trucks go down, that comes into play. Well, we can do agreements for a department that has a truck. I can do agreement with that department. That way, if one of my trucks goes down, he'll let me use that one.
Right.
And we can train on it, and vice versa, whatever the equipment is. We all have agreements. Like for Lafourche Parish, we have a Chiefs Association. We came in agreement to help to share all the equipment, all manpower, whatever it may take for fighting fires or whatever it may be, throughout all our parish, and all the chiefs sign it. That way, for a rating or whatever it may be, even for FEMA terms, because they look for agreements to say
yeah.
why you're doing that. We already got one in place, and when that comes up, that's the first thing we'll pull out for them. Here's the agreement, and it's got all the chief's signature on it.
So
So that's already in place. That way, if something happens, that's just a phone call, a dispatcher saying they need help. It's in writing. They're coming, writing or not. We still come in and go help each other out because we're here to save lives and property.
yeah,
It's done.
pretty simple at that point when you
Yes.
break it down to that. So what do you see the what do you see for the future of the Louisiana State Firemen's Association? Do you see a bright
Yeah,
long future?
a long future, and it's to keep things going for, like I said, to help out the departments in the state for any grants, any fundraisers, any laws that helps us out or the citizens out, and insurance purposes, for homeowners, vehicle, whatever it may be, to try to lower ratings or keep the insurance the same price, basically.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we look at to the NFPA to help with the standards, a lot of stuff that we really do because we got a board member that is assigned for the NFPA to sit on that board, and they write the statutes of whatever it may be for what a fire truck needs to have on it, how it's built, our air pack, how it's built, all the safety features. They write that the NFPA writes those standards, and that's what we follow. Like if you look at 1703 and that's a number I always remember off the top of my head, not exactly what it's for, but those standards, that's across the nation. So we have one person that helps on that, and that one person from the state of Louisiana, when we have our meetings, he sits there and he reports on what was said on that level. And it comes back to us, where now that is in our minutes. We send those minutes to our membership where they can read them. And if they got a question on it, what is this? Or I think this needs to be changed. We have that person, they bring that to the board, gets to him, and he brings it up nationwide. So that's where that part comes into play. We have our membership. We have one person per district. Depends what a district is. It's the same thing. If they got a member that needs something, it goes to there and it comes back to us. It goes where it needs to go, nationwide if it needs to, comes back down, and it helps out a lot in nationwide or in state.
Sure.
If you look at it, whatever way it may be, and we have a meeting once a quarter.
Okay.
So it helps out year round. And if we got to, we have a special meeting. If it's something big enough that's going to happen on those standards or whatever, that look, they fixing to pass something we think is bad, we'll have a meeting to give our opinion as a board and get information from our membership to say how we need to vote. Because ultimately, that's who it's going to affect.
That's right.
So if we get the information from them, what they want to do, then we can go and say yes or no as a state of Louisiana. We have done that before, writing letters to the state and nation congressmen with our president's signature on it, saying yes, we support it or we don't. We have done that a couple of times already. I know I wrote one. I forgot what it was for, but yeah, for the state, I did the letter, whatever, they approved it, put my name on it, and sent it in. That was support of what the LSFA was on that issue.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think going forward? This is kind of a two-pronged question. The first one is your local VFD you're on, and then it kind of segues into the state also. What are your biggest challenges that you're facing right now locally?
Be more specific, because it depends on what it is.
Well, no, and that's why I'm asking you, because that kind of the vagueness there, because your experience is not just literally looking at all problems from the local perspective or your parish perspective or even your region. You literally were the president for the state.
Yes.
So what one department may say, man, I'm just getting hammered on the finances part of it, where another one says, gosh, I've got a huge problem with the generational gap. Other departments, it's just recruiting and retention. I've got to get more people. What do you?
We have done that before on a recruiting and retention. We had got a grant, and I think that grant was for 2 years. If a member joined a fire department, we gave a grant, and I don't remember the amount of money. It may have been $36,000 we had gave them to help them with school, or college, or whatever it is. We had things that they had to do. They had to stay in a volunteer fire department for 2 years.
Okay.
And stay active.
So
if
what's some of the biggest
department,
challenges currently that you see?
It's the retention.
It is
that
retention.
grant is really not there right now. So we are trying to put that back in play. We're already talking about how can we get state funds or where we could get the funds to put that back in play as to help get more members to join, and the retention.
Okay.
How we can put that, because at that time it was 2 years then. And a lot of the ones that did join because of that reason, after that 2 years, they stayed in the department. So that retention was there. Without that, it's not. We are talking right now to start in high schools to teach the firefighter one. That helps out, and it's working there. Nicholls State University has one. If you join Thibodeau, it's the Thibodeau Volunteer Fire Department, and then maybe looking to expand that. If you want in Nicholls, it helps out, and it helps out getting the firefighter one. But they give the little tweaks. You can park where you need to park at, and if it's in a teacher's parking spot, they give you a special sticker, and you can park wherever you need instead of walking across the campus. And you get some other things by joining that
Oh
fire
yeah.
department. So it's the little things like that to help. But then it also helps us out as a fire department. We don't have to train you when you come in because they got that 18-year requirement where you're doing that beforehand at the high schools, and they're keeping them in. You're getting trained through the school. And then when you join the fire department, you have that level, that firefighter one certificate or certification at that time.
Right.
And we're trying to do that now across the state of Louisiana through the high schools, what it would take for them to do that now. Every part of the state is a little bit different. So we got to make that match about every
Yeah,
part
it's
of
pretty hard to be cookie cutter in anything we do, right?
So we're trying to make a big part. Look, this is what it needs to be. Can you help us? The schools help us, the high schools, and putting that in play to help us get members in it. Because if the kids would see it, they're probably joining.
Sure. Yeah. Just an exposure factor.
Right. And some of them are doing it and they're looking at it and they're having, it's just like any other sport. They're in it, they're looking at it, and this could be fun, maybe not. But here's some of the stuff in there getting them to join the fire departments when they get of age, basically. Because a lot of them are 18 years old. So
what can Louisiana departments do to help build that awareness for the LSFA that, hey, LSFA's working on getting this high school program going. What can the local departments do to help you kind of generate more awareness for wherever you need it?
what they would need to get that done, because not every school's the same, every parish is the same. What can we do to help move that along?
Yeah.
In your parish or in your school district,
Mm-hmm.
what it would take so we can get that done in your high schools. It's like I said, every little district, they got their own little standards or rules that they need to follow. How could we get that into that?
Well, and that just
we can help. That helps us put that process into play.
Boils right back to communication, right?
Yes, and that's what we're trying to do.
Communication.
A couple of meetings we started talking about that, and we talked about it again Wednesday, a little bit, and we're gonna still continue to talk about it because we're still getting information. That way we can write whatever needs to be written to put that into effect.
Yep.
That way it's all the same, not to say the same, but here's what
There's a
needs
standard.
to be. Yeah, basic. Yes, thank you. Here's that standard that we need to be done at this school. This is what we're trying to meet. Where the ultimate goal is they're a firefighter one when they come out of school. That way, if they join a department, either paid or volunteer, they're at that standard already. They're at that firefighter one.
Yeah.
That way
that's something we're trying to push real hard in Texas right now, particularly in our area. Is we have got to get the trades back into the schools, and that firefighting needs to be one of these programs in the local school. It's got to be.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, it needs to some kind of way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a joke I've been making, and people that'll listen to the podcast will be like, God, he's saying it again. But it's firefighting's like smoking cigarettes in the 50s. It's free, cool, and addictive. Why are we struggling with this? It's because there's no awareness. We have all this flashy, awesome, we do cool crap. Let's be honest, everyone likes firefighters. Why are we not having people kick in the doors on it? It's awareness. It's just
awareness, and then some of it, and this is on my end, a lot of it is in these days, the cost of everything. A lot of people have to work 1 or 2 jobs to pay the bills. And when they're doing some of that and other things they're trying to do with their kids and grandkids, because I have 4 kids and I got 2 grandkids now. Me as a grandpa, I've been going with my granddaughter to play baseball, and there's other things to do. It gets hard to do all of that in the volunteer.
Yeah, and still volunteer. This is a huge talking point for us.
And that's where it comes to a lot of us, how to keep them, because they want to come in and do it, but when they can't meet some of the requirements or the time, because you got to meet the standards. You got to make sure you got the 40 hours or whatever it may be to be in that department, and they can't do it. So they got to back out because they can't meet that. the time is the problem.
So, food for thought, what you're talking about, one thing that we adjusted is get away from this mindset and consideration that the value of the member is attached to call volume.
Yeah.
When they join, they have a standard of training that they have to meet. Okay. After they meet that standard of training, we're getting away from having very strict criteria to always maintain your eligibility for the department, and in getting off of the call volume and response part of it, go into training. Tie their requirements for participation with the organization to training, so they may be not on all these calls all the time, but when they're bouncing in to help you, they're not the
Plus, a lot
most
of
active
times it's
person.
for us, but like for mine, it's the trainings. We understand that we don't have that many calls, knock on wood, per year. It's to come to the training. We have a meeting once a week. On every Monday we have a training or a meeting, and it's that because they're working late or whenever it is,
Right.
because we always at night when we having our trainings or our meetings there, but then they may be working or they going to school after, or they're doing that second job, which is giving them where they can't meet that standard, and they want to but they can't.
Right.
So, and that's where that agreement comes into play. We talked about before, they go to other departments because with that agreement, they go get the training there. It depends on what that person has in his life that stops them from
Sure.
doing it.
Sure.
And that's where the recruitment comes into play. If we can help out some kind of way with that part, it may unlock the doors for more the younger generation to join or stay in, because there's other things there where they can make those criteria, where we can get them back really volunteer and having fun at it.
Mhm.
Because if they're not having fun at it,
Yeah. Well,
they're going
What's
for that
the
reason
point,
doing it.
right?
yeah.
Right.
Why
That's
do
what
it?
Yeah, and that's some of the mindset.
Well, Chris, I appreciate it. I know it was kind of all over the place, but
Oh, I'm sure
the
y'all can work this
conversation,
out.
no, the conversation is important, and it falls right in line with what we've talked about all weekend. And I think it's important for everybody to know that your state association, whether you're in Louisiana, Texas, Utah, or wherever, like that's an integral part of just being a fire department and having that relationship with your state association to flourish and grow your department and everything around you. And I appreciate all that you've done for your state association. I think it's super important, and being a past president, and just that's a big part of what we all have to do to kind of keep moving the ball forward.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Chris. Do you have any last wise words, comments, theories, interjections?
No, I think we talked about it pretty much throughout the whole thing. So
All right.
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
doing this. We really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Go ahead.
All righty. So we are finally wrapping up here at the Louisiana State Firefighters Association Convention in Baton Rouge. That was wild, interesting, and thought-provoking, to say the least.
It's I think it's so important to get outside of your box and your bubble and just experience what's out there to learn from everyone around you, and all the things. I'll take things away from here that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. And the people and the culture that we've talked about so much through this entire podcast is there's pieces of that all of us need to have.
Well, just the wide variety of level of experience, uh, with young men just really getting started, and frankly, old men at the end of their career, and all of them had something really important to learn from. And there's perspective out there that we need to be aware of, and I would argue appreciate, because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank a lot of people here. I want to thank the Louisiana State Firemen's Association for allowing us to be here to do this, right? It was kind of short notice, and it was I wouldn't say unplanned trip, but it was a short notice trip that was just the opportunity that we couldn't pass up, just basically to do what we've done here, and this is the fruits of it, right? Uh, and I want to thank Delta. Delta's been awesome to us this whole time, allowing us to come and invade their booth and interact with the folks that were coming to see them, and just the whole group is excellent. Yeah, I'm watching them wheel stuff out in the rain. Doesn't rain in Louisiana, right?
No, never. It's also known as one of the driest states in the U.S.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's not.
It's monsoon out there almost, but for Texas standards.
Now, guys, if you're still listening at this point, you've got to participate at the state level, even at your own capabilities. Our last guest, Chris, former president of LSFA, I mean, he was really hitting some points there about what they do at a national level. And that's something that a lot of people don't really understand, is that these board positions, these executive positions, there's so much work at a legislative level with the state and federal bodies that have huge impacts at a local level. That's where your grant money comes from. That's where new legislation that benefits or hurts you comes from. And your involvement with your associations and with your boards and being participatory in it is critical.
Yeah.
And this is particularly to your chief officers that are still listening, because, man, you have got to figure out how to support these organizations. I'm not saying you got to upturn your life and ultimately decide to become the president or whatever for the state. But I am telling you, you need to read the newsletters, and you need to include an opinion. You need to participate in their surveys.
Absolutely. While we're thanking everybody and we're doing all that stuff, if you've stuck around to the end of this thing to hear this talk, just let us know. Let us know what you think about the format and the cut up interviews and just what we did here. It was a total blast. I had a great time doing it. Would absolutely do it again at other conventions or other places, and just let us know that, so that we know, hey, don't do that anymore, or that was awesome, because frankly, what we did in Texas was fun, and I enjoyed that tremendously too, with the panel discussion, but this was equally as fun and is equally as enjoyable. And
Yeah, well, everyone for this is new to us.
yeah, no, it's a whole new
Yeah.
world. And we're also being followed by the paparazzi. So there is that.
Ready to wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right. This is Matt.
Well, you want to give them the old
Oh, no, I will.
hit them on the stuff. This is Jesse.
So if you ever feel like reaching out to us, you can find us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. Search for us on YouTube at ittasteslikeburningcast. And you can support us on Patreon and 500 other ways to support us. Like, click, subscribe, or lick. And with that said, this is Matt.
This is Jesse.
And we're out.